evening and welcome to episode 24 of It's All Geek to Me, the pop culture chat show where three friends with varying degrees of nerd knowledge get together once a week to have a chat about all things geek. My name is Rich Gittins, and joining me this week and every week is my buddy Chris Lumb. Coming out, Lummy.
Hello.
Hey up, Lummy, how you doing? You all right?
I'm all right, yeah, how are you?
I'm very, 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 very well, thank you very much. How has your week been?
Been all right, been back gigging to live audiences. So.
Wowzers, how's that been?
Brilliant, yeah, it's great to get back to it, to be honest. So.
Will the news today, the sort of news that the easing of lockdown is being delayed by another 4 weeks, is that going to affect any plans, any gigging plans that you had?
Well, luckily I thought it was going to happen, so I made sure I didn't oversell the next gig, so...
Right. You mean you didn't believe our Prime Minister when he said that we'll have our Independence Day on the 21st of June, our Freedom Day, that everything's going to go back to normal and that...
Yeah, for some reason, there were a little bit of doubt. I don't know why. I just...
Yeah, it's almost as though we're reliving a form of Groundhog Day here, isn't it? It's. I mean, what are your feelings on it?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because the people who haven't been vaccinated, obviously, still need to get the jab. So it probably is a crazy idea to go back to it. But I don't know why they didn't. Why promise that when you know it's not going to happen? That's what.
Yeah,
the problem
exactly.
Is, you know?
Yeah, and also why not close the borders? And I mean, we can go very political with it and say why he didn't, but that does. I don't think it divides us. I think we're all on the same page with that. But there was.
It's silly, isn't it? Because they do this thing. They've done this thing about weddings, haven't they? Said you can have 30 people at a wedding. You think, well, what difference is that to having people in a pub or a nightclub or you know what I mean? It's just, crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. One of my mates is a wedding. Well, two of my mates, they're a couple. They're wedding photographers, and man, it's just. I mean, well, we work in a similar industry in that our work relies on people being able to sit not socially distanced. For a period of time, and it's just buggered us all, hasn't it? Yeah, but I want people to be safe. I mean, I've only had one jab, and they say that the Delta variant is that the one jab isn't really effective at all against it. So, for that reason alone, I want the jab in my arm. I want to be vaccinated, man. But you've had both, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Yeah.
Should we get Webby out? Yeah, that's fair enough. Should we get Webby out? Let's bring him out. Come on out. Hey up, Webby. Hat boy. Hey
Happy Freedom Day next.
Didn't you not? Did you not get? Oh shit! You haven't seen the news, Webby.
No. Boris texted me this morning. 5:30 in the morning. The dick.
I mean, you've had to postpone your wedding like 3 times now. 4 times? 3 times.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
Don't be like that. Don't be like that.
Cold feet.
It's got cold feet. That's
sorry. I thought you were about to be a COVID denier then. But no, you're
hang on a minute. I've heard that cold feet's a symptom of COVID, so you can never be too sure.
Yeah, I've got sore throat and cold feet. Yeah, that's exactly it. How's your week been, Webby? Go on, Lummy. Sorry, mate.
I was just going to say, has he changed his? He's usually got his shelf the other side, and he turned around a bit.
Been some major.
He's rearranged the room this week, haven't you, Webby?
I have. I've totally moved the windowsill. Just moved it.
You moved the windowsill. To which room?
I'm not going to lie. It took me a while. It took me ages. No, all I've changed is my chair. I've changed my chair because it was squeaking like mad.
It really was.
I've got a nice, comfy armchair now.
Nice.
Your tune.
Whoa.
Watch it. So I changed that, and also this week I went for no overhead headphones because last week.
This weather, man.
My ears were sweating, and even though it's a bit more temperate today, it's a bit cooler up here. But I didn't want to chance it. I thought, bugger it.
I made the rookie mistake of having a shower like 45 minutes ago. So my ears are really clammy. I feel like when we finish the show, there's going to be like living cultures that have just grown in my ear holes during the show.
We've got some comments. I'm just having a look.
How you doing? You're right. He was confident. You got to give him that. He was confident. He was very, very confident. I mean, fuck me. I mean, it's appalling, isn't it? And it's like stuck between a rock and a hard place because we want people to be safe, but at the same time, as somebody who hasn't been able to really work for the best part of 17 months. I just want to go back to work.
I think the position we're in, the same bloody, the same people are the same people keeping holding us back. So maybe we don't want everybody to be safe. Maybe a certain select number of people could do with not being safe, and that would sort the problem out in the future. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Crikey.
Yeah,
well,
do you know what? I think we should.
We've just got this from Martin. We better put his mind at ease. We are live, Martin.
We're live.
Yeah, we are live, Martin. We are live. This is equivalent of us holding today's newspaper up. But the fact that Martin has just messaged and we've responded is probably proof enough, Webby.
Yeah.
We're not live. This is horse.
well, the fact we can put up the comments proves we're live because we wouldn't be able to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But welcome, Martin. Welcome, welcome to everybody to another week of It's All Geek to Me. Hey up, Big T. How you doing? I'm very well. I hope you are diddling well. Also, welcome to the show. Please leave a comment, leave a like, share it amongst your friends. We're trying to build a community here. Now, One Geek this week had a very special day. And Webby is that geek. On, was it Saturday? You got to play in a big red fire engine, didn't you, Webby?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
How was that?
Do you know, I mean, sometimes life gives you lemons, right? I'm used to lemons. I'm used to them. But sometimes, occasionally, another fruit that I can't think of. I don't actually like fruit. This was a bad metaphor. I don't like fruit. Anyway, juicy plums landed on us instead of lemons.
Make lemonade. That's a quote, isn't it? That's what you said.
I thought it were if life.
You make tequila, really witty things like that.
Make lemonades? No, not.
have you got a photo of you?
Not on me. I wasn't expecting it. No, but so yeah, we had birthday part 2. So we took Wednesday off, which was his actual birthday last week, and we had a lovely day together making Lego and playing with his toys and stuff. And then the party was on Saturday, and we had booked a fire engine for him, an ex West Yorkshire fire engine, no longer in service. You'll be pleased to know. So nobody burnt to death, just for our benefit. And that's so. It pulled around the corner and he absolutely cacked his pants. I've never seen anything like it. He didn't know anything about it. It was a genuine surprise. So 5 minutes later, he was crawling all over the fire engine, pressing all the buttons. It was great, man. Really, really loud, really noisy, beautiful. They were lovely guys. Really, really recommend the company. Which is, what's the name of the company?
West Yorkshire Fire Service.
No, West Yorkshire.
Yeah, you get your phone 999 and they just turn up.
West Yorkshire Classics. Let's pimp them out just in case anybody's looking for a good kids party. Great with kids. You get to mess around on the fire engine, and then right at the end, they wash your car for you with the hose. And all
they don't.
Yeah, they do. All the kids get to stand by the hose. Not full power. They don't put it on full power. Yeah, kids flying everywhere. No, nothing like that. And they didn't let them drink from the hose. That would have been pissing. Come on, get a drink.
I really wanted to know
it was really cool. Lovely weather. Everybody was nice and socially distanced. Obviously, saw some of the family we haven't seen for a year. Over a year.
You got a pair of Spider-Man cakes.
Yeah, we got 2 cakes. There was some cake miscommunication cake problems, so we had 2 Spider-Man cakes. So yeah, lots of cake.
I was just trying to have a little look at all the pictures from that birthday, see if there was a picture of you in the fire engine that I could surprise you with, but there isn't one on the Facebook page.
Not really. I was too busy. I did go on the
being a responsible adult.
Yeah, I was too busy being a parent and making sure I didn't press the wrong button because they got an ejector seat button. I didn't want him pressing that one, firing some poor kid fucking 10 miles in the sky.
I mean, you kind of did. Let's face it. It was kind of like.
But no, I had to make sure.
Definitely don't press that button, Robin. Definitely don't press that button. No. Awesome things won't happen.
These kids that are like Robin's peers, they're all 4, so they show up. They don't know anybody. It takes them all like 15 minutes to, come out of the shell a bit. So I would just schmoozing. Make sure that everybody were all right.
You were schmoozing with 4-year-olds.
I think that's the wrong word.
Yeah, that is definitely the wrong word. You were helping 4-year-olds. You were helping them network.
Shock horror. Webby uses the wrong word. Yeah. No, but they were great.
You're a social butterfly, Webb. I've always said that.
Even the little kids that were really terrified of this fire engine, everybody got on and they had a go, and we're cool.
That sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like a fire engine's pretty big, isn't it? Especially, and you kind of relate it to danger and emergencies, I guess.
You never know what these little buggers are up to, right? I'll tell you, the funniest thing was right at the end.
Firemen.
5 minutes before they went at the end, right? They said, does anybody want to climb around the fire engine one last time before we go? And all the kids were like eating the sandwiches. Yeah, let's do it. So they all put the stuff down and they got back on. And one of the adults went to put a fireman's helmet on. Just went like that over his head, and half a cake fell out of this fucking fire. Just all over the place.
What are you going to say?
So nobody owned up to it. I don't know who stuffed the cake wrapper in the bloody fireman's helmet.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
My money's going on Robin.
We've got a couple more. We've got a thing here. Question. Martin said, "Has Webby watched?"
I did. I watched. What's the best one? I watched Highlander 6. Yeah, best one. I did.
Yeah, Highlanders on Patrol.
I haven't watched it. Not only do I not know where I don't know where to download it from.
The only reason to have kids is parties.
I might get around to it just for you, Martin. One day. On your recommendations.
Crush them and throw them in the air.
Yeah, I agree.
See, that's why we love our community. It's the sage advice that they give us. It's fantastic. It's just
what's so
prophetic that is
saying, right? Is if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. What the fuck else are you going to do with them? You're churlish to make tea with them, right? Or
make a nice salad dressing with some balsamic vinegar and a little bit of salt and pepper.
They should adapt it. Make lemon curd.
Yeah.
It's on
Netflix.
Oh, Netflix. All right,
Webflix.
I got that. If I get time, Martin, I'll maybe give it a go. I hope I'm not putting a lot of pressure on now. I mean, what if I watch it and it's crap and I have to come on and go, it was really good, guys. It hasn't aged a day.
Gentlemen, tell me, did either of you watch Loki this week?
Yeah.
Gosh darn right, I did.
Now I haven't seen it, so we're not going to do any spoilers or anything like that. But how was it? Because big things were promised.
It's all right. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
I can't say anything without spoiling it. Me.
I enjoyed it. I thought the performances were good in it all round. It seems like it's heavily connected to the MCU. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say like Lummy. I don't want to say. I think it's worth a watch. And I think
okay, so how about, are you both looking forward to the next episode?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Lummy, you can say yes without giving anything away. It's fine.
Respect his wishes, all right? You don't want to spoil it.
I do, because I want to see where that...
Yeah. No, I've heard that when they showed it to the test screening audience and the critics, they showed 2 episodes, and I think that might be a part of why I was left a little bit like, okay, but I think there's a little bit more. So I reckon episode 2 is going to be a stonker. There was a lot of set up and exposition in this first one.
Didn't they have 2 episodes of WandaVision out straight away?
No. I thought
they released the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, did they?
I thought they did. Yeah.
Because that first one black and white, and they thought everybody would be stupid enough to go.
They were right.
They were right. Yeah,
they were right, weren't they?
Yeah. This is all in black and white, this series. I'm not watching it. That's like telly from olden days.
Mm-hmm. I follow Loki's director on Twitter, and I was trying to leave enough space there for you to make that comment. I follow her on Twitter, and she was saying the other day that she would absolutely love to be given the opportunity to direct a feature-length Marvel movie. And I think she kind of threw a hat in the ring for one of the Spider-Man films.
Well, she's greedy as fuck. She's just done a series. Greedy guts. Leave something for someone else.
Wait till your series is out, see how it does, and then start saying you want to do a feature. Jesus.
I'll tell you what, this is slightly related, actually. I watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy last night, and I haven't seen it since I started watching the Infinity War and Endgame and all that, and I forgot how connected Thanos and Ronin and certain characters are. Completely forgot that they're actually in Guardians of the Galaxy in some way, but it's still a cracking film. It's got everything.
It is a good film.
Of all the Marvel films, I feel like that's the closest one to like classic Spielbergy kind of adventure stuff. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, it's just been announced that they are doing Segway. It is been announced that they are doing a Guardians of the Galaxy computer game. Have either of you seen the trailer for it yet?
Yes.
Yeah, man, I saw that last night.
What did you think? Which is a third-person shoot 'em up. What do you think?
It's been E3, hasn't it? So there's lots of new games being announced.
Nice one.
I thought it looked really good, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'd have gone for the style from the comics instead of using the likenesses of the people from the movies.
Yeah.
So Drax looks a lot more like he does in the comics, for example.
They've shown a lot of footage of the cut screen story, and the script certainly seems funny and quite snappy.
That's not even my cat. I don't know where the fuck he came from. Yeah, it looks really good. It looks like they've kept the injection of humor that it needs in there, and I thought that some of the settings they've used, like the different planets that are so colourful and weird and twisted, it looks interesting. I think I'll give it a whirl.
Nice.
Did you play the Avengers game, by the way?
No, I didn't.
No, I heard it was a big stinky.
I heard bad things, but never played it.
No, I didn't play it either. I got to admit, I didn't think the gameplay in the trailer looked incredibly appealing of Guardians of the Galaxy. It just seemed a little bit clunky.
Yeah, well, it's all flipping.
No, apparently Martin said also Black Panther game trailer.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, interesting. I missed that. That'd be interesting.
It was E3, wasn't it, the other day? But there were loads of people are still going on about the Lego Star Wars game because there's no announcements at all. This game has just disappeared.
It's like they've ghosted all of the fans.
They've made like 7 million Lego games. I don't understand what the bloody problem is here. What is it? Have they gone too ambitious?
Warner Brothers Games, apparently there's a big thing about the companies being sold, and they've had to split up all the divisions. So I think it's tied up with all that. I don't know. The
divisions are divided. Is that what you're telling me?
And you've been on your travels with your camera and your Mac and your dark glasses, Lummy, back up north to take some pictures of the Indiana Jones set.
I haven't.
You have. Come on, you.
I said I wouldn't go. I don't want to be thrown in with those people who.
Okay, so what pictures have you found on the internet this week?
Well, there's been some Indy 5 is what we're talking about, obviously. There's been these ones.
No, it's just him getting dressed. It's the one in his hotel.
This one here. Here we go. This is the one that's been kicking around. There's been a few of these actually from the same scene. But it's interesting because I'm looking at this, and you can't really see on that one very well, but he's got some dots on his face. You know where they do the facial recognition stuff.
Can you put it back up? Put it back up. I want to see the dots.
So you think that might be on his shoulder as well? You can see it.
Yeah, that's like the
so that they can de-age him.
Yeah, are you sure it's not just bird shit? He is in England.
No, it's true.
It could be a random.
He's stood by a very old wall. Yeah, absolutely.
You can tell he's in England because the council ain't cut that fucking grass. That's disgusting.
Hang on, I'm gonna get you. I'm sure there's one where. Let me get another one. Hang on, just keep talking.
No, I think everybody wants to see a close-up of your face trying to scroll through pictures on the internet.
Forget, don't you? You can see him on that a bit better, look, on the sides. See, it looks like he's got loads of mud over his face, but it's actually...
Oh, yeah.
It's like... Yeah.
Well, it should have put a couple of dots on his saggy old man titty, really, shouldn't
Webby, I just noticed that, and I wasn't going to mention it.
Well, I think that if they're going to de-age him and they leave that in, that's going to look a bit weird, isn't it?
But I think I've got a good feeling about it, this one. There is some news that literally, I've only saw this today. This guy went on Twitter and started basically insulting the film and the director, James Mangold, in it. He actually shot him down on Twitter. We've got the
really. Have you got some footage of this?
Right. So this is the guy who did it. It's all over Twitter. This anyway, so it doesn't matter if we put it up. I don't think. To anyone thinking Indiana Jones 5 might be good, let me just point out: Steven Spielberg is not directing. Kathleen Kennedy is producing. Harrison Ford is 78 years old. It's written by Jonathan Kazoo, wrote Solo. Right. So this guy put that up, going, and then the director put this. Thanks, Matt. Keep making the world a better place, crapping on things in the first week of production from your basement. Never seen a script by John, nothing against him, just reality, but it's a nice started from a blank page. 1 to 3 are hugely talented and all at my side. It's like fair play. I mean,
yeah,
it's fair play to him for saying that. But I was going to say, what do you think about this stuff? You know, when somebody like a director replies to some fanboy.
Mate, it depends on the person. It depends how good they are, because they're not all. You know, that guy's made a good. He's been given a gift there, aren't he? This guy complaining, he's gone, actually shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
but they don't always get to do that.
More as well. Look, thanks, Zach. So I don't mind people griping and prognosticating.
Prognosticating.
Well, on my watch, false info, ageism, and snack. So-called journalists is going to be confronted directly and forcefully. My opinion is clickbaiters like to dish it out, but like Nightcrawlers can't stand the light. Yeah. Fair play, I think.
Yeah, well, fair enough, yeah. I mean, he's going to be defensive, isn't he? Because I don't think I've ever heard a director properly shit on their own movie before it's released. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I've ever heard Spielberg talk about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
They kind of keep out of it, don't they? That's why it's interesting, this one, because it's probably... I mean, usually, like, some of the staff around them will respond, you know, like at Lucasfilm, but for the director to go on and say that, I think it's quite interesting, that.
Well, Matthew Kaddish is, I'm just looking at his bio on Twitter. I tweet news and opinions on movies, TV, entertainment, and pop culture. Follow me if you like to talk about cool, geeky, and nerdy stuff. But his webpage is actually Salty Nerd Video. So the fact that it's Salty Nerd Video kind of strikes me that he's kind of setting an identity out for himself there, that he's going to come at things with a slightly antagonistic. I mean, I'm looking at one of his takes now, and it says, today a multimillionaire Hollywood director who's worked with Tom Cruise, Matt Damon, Hugh Jackman, Harrison Ford, and Patrick Stewart ragged on my home YouTube studio that I set up in my dining room to record podcasts with friends. It was a strange day. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, yeah.
Right. He's talking about Mangold there, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Because they went on and said some more stuff, and he said about his, I think he said about his lighting setup, you know, like, good luck with your vinyl walling and your bloody bounce spot or whatever he said.
Oh, so it hit him hit him really where it hurts.
So what he said was, so what he'd said to cause that response was, yeah, that's a kick out. So they tweeted a picture of themselves in response saying, we don't have basements, but we do have a kick-ass studio with a Batman statue. And Mangold said, yeah, that's a kick-ass studio. Congrats on the Batman statue and the jar of corks. So how about you let me finish my film and then bitch all you want about it in front of your vinyl bricks lit by your fancy bounce light, and maybe don't call opinion news. That's a fucking fair point. Fair fucks to him, I'm afraid. Because he hasn't ragged on their studio. He's just observed what's in the background. He hasn't actually said anything bad about it, and then just said, look, your opinion isn't news. And they are branding themselves as Geek News, a bit like us. So, yeah, fair fucks to him.
We talk about stuff, and we'll give it the benefit of waiting until something's out before we just go, nah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Not always, because I don't really keep track of everything. I'm probably the worst one for it. But I looked at that list that guy had written, and I'm pretty sure I've said at least 3 of those 4 things that he's pointed out.
Yeah, but you don't tweet the director about it.
No. It's like turning up at his house and knocking on his door and being like, hi, by the way, that film you're going to make, but with a loud hailer so all his neighbors can hear as well. And it's just
I mean, and the thing is, the damage has already been done in this case. Like, this movie only has to be slightly less impressive than Temple of Doom to be good. That's the bar it's set. It can't be as bad as Crystal Skull. It fucking can't be. It just can't be. There were so many mistakes made there. But
I wish the wood in this room was real.
I am the kind of person that will give a person the benefit of the doubt and let him make his movie, and then we'll bitch about it. That's our job. You know, that's our prerogative.
Because that's a responsible, nuanced approach to things. But the thing is, I think, yes, one of us might have an opinion that is maybe less researched, or maybe, you know, sort of more off the cuff opinion that might jar a little bit. But there are three of us to counterbalance each other. So I think we're always left with a fairly fair.
Listen, and the other thing is, in this day and age, is if we wanted thousands of likes and thousands of views, we could do that by being stroppy little controversial.
That's the other thing. That is the other thing.
It's
clickbaity. It's clickbaity.
That guy's clearly going to get a lot of views.
And he knows the algorithm for putting out a statement that will draw attention to it. And he's probably going to do it again.
That's a really good point. All it is a clickbait tweet to get loads of attention. And what is actually done, this is the thing where the director's fucked up, is just played right into his hands. Although he's owned him, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he shouldn't have bothered, should he? That's why we're interesting, because you don't usually see that, do you? You usually see some other person saying, I worked on it and I think it's going to be great and all that.
Yeah, but just because they're like Hollywood actors or directors doesn't mean that they're immune to criticism from the wrong place, you know? And I guess if you were sitting there having a cup of tea on a break filming Indiana Jones and you just decided to respond to something, I don't know. I mean,
it sounds like it's this guy's passion project as well, doesn't it? It sounds like he's been wanting to do this for ages. So
I think there is also the thing, though, to offer some balance, is that for your own well-being and mental health and image, sometimes your own PR, maybe being as prominent on Twitter isn't always a good idea. I know a lot of footballers, for example, who will you can block certain keywords and they'll block their own name from their mentions so that they cannot see any mention of them before or after a game. And I think that's really wise.
I've got to say, I Google both of you every time before we come on the show. I Google both of you.
Do you? I was going to say, at the end of the day as well, this guy's done it with an agenda and he got a response. He's probably fucking lapping that up. He didn't say, this director of a certain movie. He's named every star this guy's worked with. He's made it really easy to figure out what he's on about. Yeah. It's all just bullshit. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah. He
so because he's a loser who sits in his basement doing this shit and he's clearly not happy and he'll never see stars. You know what I mean? You can't live like that, man. Who cares? It doesn't. Maybe there'll be a good Indiana Jones movie coming. Maybe there'll be good Star Wars in the future. All right.
I mean, we cover Indiana Jones every week at the moment, don't we? So we better.
Yeah, but in tiny little dribs and drabs, man. I mean, what we've actually done.
We've ignored the fact actually that Toby Jones in that photo as well. He's a great actor. I like him.
Now I was wondering when we were talking about maybe Harrison Ford being de-aged in that scene. I can't see any dots on Toby Jones.
Yeah.
But we don't know who he's playing. So your theory here, Lummy, just for people that haven't noticed this before, is that we're going to see this bit that's filming in England is going to be the prequel to the movie, a la the original sort of Indiana Jones, where they start out in the middle of an event that's already going on and then get on with the rest of the story later on. So Lummy feels in his bones, and I know this guy in his Indiana bones, even. I know he feels in his Indiana bones that there's somewhat going on, and he's cracked it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any more news this week? Anyone else that anyone's picked up or spotted?
I'm going to mention the Master of the Universe again, just because the trailer came out. We said a bit about this last week, but
because I was talking about the cast.
Yeah, it looks great. I think
it's crazy.
That's right. Yeah, of course.
Well, do you know what's really interesting? Watch that Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. And the He-Man, the Master of the Universe one, it's got I Need a Hero in it by Bonnie Tyler. Both trailers have got that music.
Weird.
And it's like, they're just sticking that in everything. It's like, I might do a lot of trailers for films and just stick that over the top. On YouTube. Just flood it with a new, what was it, Rickroll.
Yeah, absolutely. So, gents, this week I asked you. Go on, Webby.
I was just going to say, I just hope it's better than anything Kevin Smith's done in the past 10 years or so. Yeah, they put a lot of effort in.
No, that's true. That's true.
Actually, that's wrong. He's put a lot of effort in, I'm sure, but in his haze of Hollywood weed smoke, everything seems like a great idea to him. And sometimes they're just not good ideas, man.
But you've got to give these people a bit of leeway. Come on, it's not easy to make a film.
No, it's not. It's not.
Come on.
It's not when you've forgotten how to make a film.
No.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Comments? Have we got any comments about any of the news that we've just talked about?
Any old comments? Any old comments? Any old comments?
I think there was another couple. Let's have a look. I don't know if you showed.
Come on, no.
I mean, man,
Martin,
and yes, Martin. Yes, he has. Yes,
you know what?
Yeah,
he has. I did actually think about going up to do a report for this show, and then I thought, do you know what? No, I'm not going to be one of them people who does that.
This one's for you, Webby. There you go.
Okay.
It's nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for saying it's okay to have an opinion about stuff. That's great.
That's what the
no, honestly, just one of them movies. Let's go back to Highlander. It's clearly stuck in some people's crotch. Just one of them movies that passed me by when I was a kid. My best friend over the road, him and his dad used to watch it. It was one of the first videos they had. They used to watch it all the time. And they sort of oversold it to me. Do you know what I mean? And then eventually, you know, when somebody just comes on a bit too strong with liking something, and you're just like, you know what? Can't be asked for that.
That's why I've never watched Game of Thrones, because everybody used to bang on about it all the time to the point where I thought, I'm not watching it now because you've gone on about it.
I'm a little bit stuck on the fact that Webby just said that this is stuck in his crotch. What? You said
rewind it,
about
watch it later. I said craw.
No, I'm pretty sure you said
craw.
Oh, I think he's just stuck.
Who's this? Hello, buddy.
Oh, I love the fact you cat.
Get that cat out of here. What's up?
So, gentlemen.
Yeah.
This week,
that's the movie.
This week, I asked you both to come up with your best and worst Ricky Gervais products. So that could be everything that he's written, he's acted in, he's produced, he's starred in. So let's start with. He's shaking his head. So let's go with Webby.
Lummy's cracked the algorithm to this. So you suggest something, he comes in straight away with the thing that everybody's going to want.
I wouldn't mind, but it was really,
like,
yeah.
I learned
the hard way. I got burned the first 2 weeks we did this because you were picking everything I wanted. So I'm like, right, no more.
To be honest with you, Lummy, exactly what you picked was what I wanted. So it forced me to think outside the box. But then, have we even announced what it is?
No.
Oh, sorry. But then it forced me to look on IMDb and go through this guy's entire movie catalogue and stuff, and I was like, actually, there isn't that much left that I'm into as much as what you picked.
So, what have you picked as your favourite Ricky Gervais?
Me, I picked. There you go. I picked Afterlife. I really wanted to pick something else. I'll explain that in a minute because somebody's going to talk about it. But this, for me, is a perfect example of how it's quite hard for me to hate Ricky Gervais, because I know he gets a lot of shit from people. People say he's too big-headed, too popular, too over-promoted. He's all over the place, and he's completely unapologetic about anything he does. And I think that's great. It took me a long time to get into Ricky Gervais, and it was only after watching something else, which I'm not going to mention, that I started to see he was really talented as a writer. It wasn't The Office. That passed me by, actually. I watched it, and I liked it. It was all right. But Afterlife is a great example of a show that can make you laugh as much as it can move you. Like, this is some serious shit. It's really dark, but it's absolutely hilarious. But it's made me cry on several occasions.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
It's the darkest thing I think I've ever seen on television, and I've watched them all. I mean, in terms of the content, in terms of how everything is set as if it's happening.
There's a scene where he gives his friend the money to take an overdose and kill himself. Yeah, the thing that he doesn't have the guts to do. There you are.
He's so despondent at the loss of his in his life. So it's about Ricky Gervais's wife has died of cancer. You start off the show with him just completely despondent, almost too lazy and too lost in himself to even commit suicide. He's not quite there yet. There's very little keeping him from killing himself. But as the show unravels,
Dog saves him. He attempts it.
yeah. There's very little going on in his life, and even the positive things in his life are not a patch on his relationship with his wife, who he loved dearly. So yeah, it's very sad, very depressing. Got a really crazy supporting cast of characters.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah,
he befriends the local sex worker. He's got an annoying postman that he ends up becoming kind of chummy with. It's special, I think, is what
I mean. The cast includes, and a lot of these people do turn up in his other shows as well. But you've got Diane Morgan, you've got Kerry Godleman, obviously, who plays his wife, Joe Wilkinson, Roshan Connerty, Paul Kay. You know, quite a lot of good, strong comedy.
The Scottish actress in there as well.
I didn't realise
really big in America.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't realise
what her name is.
Andy Burrows of Razorlight, the drummer from Razorlight, was the composer of the music. I didn't realise as well.
Okay.
Yeah, he's made a bit of a name for himself in TV soundtracks.
I don't want to spoil too much of the plot in case people out there and seen it. I am aware that talking about Ricky Gervais is like trying to navigate your way through a minefield. Some people are just going to hate on him. But honestly, if you can watch this show and not see the human being that's written it, then there's something wrong with you. Not everybody can write like this.
The same with Derek. Derek. My lady partner and I have just watched both Afterlife, all series of that, and both series of Derek and the special.
Did you watch it in the 1800s?
I did. My lady partner and I, and we both cried our eyes out. It was just some of it was absolutely devastating, and some of it I was just like, I'm gonna have to leave the room now because I cannot watch the next 15 minutes of the show because I know I'm just going to be blubbing my eyes out again. He writes humans perfectly.
Character. People think he's a heartless son of a bitch because he tells jokes that people don't always get on with, and he's quite quick to be offensive when he needs to be.
Well, he's had that fuck it moment, hasn't he? He's had that fuck it moment. He can't be fucked. He cannot be fucked. He hates humans, and nothing makes him happy. So he's happy to take everyone down.
There's a lot of him in the character in Afterlife. But going back to Derek for a second, Derek exists as a response to Ricky Gervais using the term, I don't even want to say it, but he was using this term online.
Richard Herring pulled him up on it.
From me. Yeah, he was using the term Mong to describe people, to describe people on his Twitter. And it wasn't meant as a slight against people with special needs. It wasn't meant like that. So he said, and he said, well, I just mean it like this. And he couldn't really explain himself out of it. And
it was Richard Herring that took him to task on it. It was a huge thread between them. It was
a better comeback to prove that you're not against special needs than doing something like Derek. Like, he really thought about it. He really went back to it. It just, I don't know. It's got something about.
I don't know if. I mean, the excuse Ricky Gervais used was that language changes and that this is what the word has become. But I don't really think there is much of an excuse for using it on social media in front of your millions of followers. There's a responsibility that you have. I know you can't be responsible for the way that everybody takes something, so you can't be responsible for everybody's offense. And you can't be responsible for the way that people would then further on your joke for maybe sort of malintent.
Yeah, but you also
there's a common sense. There's a common sense.
You also can't say, well, I didn't know that word was unpopular.
No.
It was unpopular when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was one of the first words that went from the common language. It was one of the first things that people stopped doing. So that was a bit of a poor excuse. But his response to it, I thought, was excellent to release a show like Derek, which then leads into Afterlife. And comedy and tragedy go hand in hand, and he's got that gift of being able to write both in the same scene. You know what I mean?
I can really relate to the character in Afterlife, not obviously to the same extent, nowhere near the same extent, but I can. If you look at something as a spectrum of behaviors, I could see that I can register somewhere on that spectrum as somebody who's quite cantankerous, a bit loose-lipped when in a position of confrontation and will sort of say something to take someone down and prefers his dog to other people most of the time. And I can kind of see that. And so, yeah, I can see how beautifully written that was. But it's not just the character himself; it's all the other characters around him. This is something I noticed with Derek, was that you had the first 2 seasons of Derek, and then there was this extra episode, and I thought everybody's character arc had been completed, and I was wrong, because then they did this one-off 60-minute episode where it looked at the Kev character played by Brian Gittins, and it was all about him and his alcoholism, and it was like, yeah, we're not just accepting that this character is this character and everything's okay. We're going to actually really explore why this character is an alcoholic, why he is so down on himself, why he's so inappropriate, and it was just handled so
that
fucking
character,
beautifully.
that guy who plays him, Brian Gittins. I've never seen him in anything else before, but what an amazing actor! He really has a way of using some of Ricky Gervais's dialogue to turn your fucking stomach.
Oh
He's
yeah,
got
yeah,
a way of putting things that really makes you want to throw up in your mouth.
There was one thing that the other day I was
from Derek.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Absolutely stunning. Brilliant.
It's where he pretends to jizz in Derek's face, and he just adds this thing in one of the takes where he's like, he's pretending to scrub shit from a toilet whilst wanking somebody off, pretends to be a woman wanking him off while scrubbing shit from the toilet, and then at the end he just goes splat like that in Ricky Gervais's face and Derek's face, and in the outtake, Ricky Gervais just pissed himself laughing. He's like, right. We're adding splat to that, are we? Okay, no, it's good. Keep it in. I just didn't realize that was happening. It was just brilliant.
I'm amazed. I've got to say this about all this stuff. I'm amazed they get anything filmed, because when you watch them outtakes,
dude, when you see them outtakes and Ricky Gervais is just going on,
it's
laughing his head off. This is never going to get filmed. There's one where the fact.
I bet it's amazing to work on that stuff. I bet it's so funny.
There's one with the fat guy who's the performing arts guy, who's clearly based on James Corden. And he's eating a piece of cake. He's eating a piece of cake and he's stuffing it in his face and he's going, And Kev character next to him is like, he's going, oh yeah.
But he's playing Brian Gittins in that. That's the thing. He's playing himself in that.
There must be about 35 outtakes of him trying to get this right, and Ricky Gervais is it's not going to happen.
It's so funny though that is blatantly James Corden, and he's not like. He's not denying any of that. He's actually going, that's him.
He can take it, I think. He's got But so, I mean, I think at one point, Ricky Gervais actually had a bit of respect for James Corden when he was a writer and when he was a performer on stage, because he does what he does. He does the same thing. But then he went to America and sold out for millions of dollars. But that's another thing.
Ricky Gervais didn't.
Ricky Gervais is completely open about his selling out. So recently I read something that he'd said to somebody, somebody had tweeted him saying something about The Office, or how does it make you feel to know that you sold your baby to Americans, and you've sold out and you're this and you're that, and he says, how does it make me feel? It makes me feel fucking rich. And you've got to respect that honesty. Go fuck yourself. And so, part of me admires that brazen sort of, I don't care. And I've seen him say it in the middle of his stand-up set. He'll say,
he does it. Yeah, I'm rich. I'm rich.
I'm not just that. I don't care what you think about it. I don't care if you're offended. I don't care. And he genuinely
that's your problem. Care. You took that offense. Yeah.
I mean, that's a really funny thing about all this stuff that that people do online. The fact that they think that these people actually are bothered about that stuff. It's like the old classic story about Michael Caine where he did Jaws 4 and everybody went, "Oh, it was fucking terrible." And he went, "Yeah, but it bought me an house." It's like,
I respect that. Rather than some, standing on a pedestal and trying to die for your art, defending your art to the last dying breath. I'd respect it more if you just went, "Yeah, I made that and it was shite." I'm rich,
It's like when some of these actors kind of moan about it, you think you got paid like so much money, does it really matter to you that, it's so odd, isn't it? Some of it,
I don't know, because then we say,
I'm thinking really of the last Star Wars movies, when some of these ones who've been in all of them, they come out and say, "Oh, my character won't develop," and that. You think, yeah, but you know what kind of movie you're in. You signed on for it. You've got.
And not only that, what about Shia LaBeouf turning around and slating Indiana Jones 4 after making it, saying this is a piece of shit, and I'm really
Cannes
sorry.
Film Festival as well.
As it's premiering.
I mean, that's slightly different, but yeah, that is.
I respect his opinion for saying that, and knowing in his heart of hearts that he turned in a shoddy performance. But I don't know. It kind of makes a mockery of those people that are really trying to be good. Do you know what I mean? Trying to make a good film.
Yeah, because I think we're in danger of saying that money is your answer to everything. And I think from our point of view, from people who don't have a right lot of money at the minute, particularly after the pandemic, when we compare ourselves to someone like Ricky Gervais who does have a lot of money, then yeah. It's like, well, yeah, you're in your massive house in Hampstead, you're flying all over the world.
We were talking about the idea of selling out, weren't we? That's what we're on about.
Exactly.
I think Ricky Gervais has done the right way. We'll talk about this anyway, but he could have had a real opportunity to sell out, and he hasn't, because he got offered. I always remember this. He got offered the Simon Pegg role in Mission Impossible.
Yes. Yeah.
And he turned it down and said, "I don't want to do, half an hour in a film that's not mine."
I think
he actually realised he could do his own stuff, and that's what I think is great about it. That's what we're going to talk
I think there's a couple of things that are different about him from most famous comedian actors, and that is that he came into it really late, and he's never forgotten who he is. He's
early 40s or late 30s, wasn't he?
He's really conscious of who he is. But anyway, he's earned my respect by being a good writer, by standing up to people in Hollywood. One of my, I nearly picked as my favourite his Golden Globe speeches.
Yeah, that would have been not only left field, but brilliant. Yeah,
but Hollywood is so dumb that it just kept inviting him back to do it again. Do you know what I mean? So people were trying to get offended by it, but it's like, how can you be offended if you're just going to keep inviting him back? And on the fifth one. Of the fifth or sixth one, it's just like sixth time I'm here, and then you have to go Apple, everybody.
Everything he says is spot on as well. All of it. It's like,
I mean, there's some. He's just got balls, man. Yeah. And my favorite. All right, just to tell you, my favorite bit from that Golden Globes bit is I like a drink as much as the next man, and here's the next man, Mel Gibson.
Yeah, that was amazing. Webby, I am surprised that you didn't pick The American Office as your best, because
I don't really class that as a Ricky Gervais thing. I do. I like it more than.
I mean, it is a Ricky Gervais thing.
He produced it, and I think he handed it over to the Americans. And BJ Novak was one of the most prolific writers on it. So they gave him the skin, they gave him the skeleton, and I think there's a few episodes that are clearly based.
He was involved on as well. He was
but he exec produced it, man. I don't think it's a massive.
Okay, so having said all that.
I didn't think it was true. I think there are things left that Ricky Gervais has done that I can, I could square away. I wasn't too. The Office was an option, but it's not something I.
Okay. So what is your worst Ricky Gervais product?
Oh, and I've already picked The Office for something else we did a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, fair enough.
Best sitcoms. My worst is The Night at the Museum, because this is, for me, exactly what we were just talking about. It's slightly selling out. It's just taking that British bumbling idiot role. And it's not a great film. Don't like either of them. Could have been a lot better. I know it's for the kids. Go easy on me. It was for the kids. It's for
I quite liked Night at the Museum, the first one. It was all right. Robin Williams.
All
right.
I
was a bit shocked at your choice, really, this, because I don't actually think it's a terrible film. I think it's, like you say, it's a kids' film. But I quite like the idea as well.
It's not a bad idea. It just was... For me, it wasn't particularly well executed.
I mean, you were hardly in it as well, were you, Ricky Gervais? You were,
Well, this is what I mean. When I went to look at stuff they'd done that was bad, there was surprisingly little there to choose from. Do you know what I mean?
He's not even on the poster there.
Isn't he the manager of the museum or something like that?
He's not even in it. I think he's in it. Blink and you'll miss it in the second one. But I'm not. It's just not my kind of thing. I love Robin Williams. Again, it wasn't a Robin Williams movie. He wasn't great in it. Ben Stiller wasn't great in it. There's a lot of slapping monkeys and shit going on in it. I'm just like, okay.
Oh yeah,
it's not my kind of thing.
What, spanking monkeys?
It's also there's some really lazy cultural stereotypes in there about Native Americans, cowboys, Egyptians. It's just a bit lazy.
Cool, fair enough. That's totally fair enough. How about you, Lummy? What's your favourite Ricky Gervais? That Webby wanted to pick.
My favourite is
Indiana Jones. Brilliant, fantastic.
Just thought I'd throw that in for a laugh because it was there. Right, so my best one that I was surprised nobody else wanted this choice. I'm really surprised neither one of you wanted this because I think you missed a trick. I really do. It's
I've never heard of it.
Extras.
Yeah,
now,
it's wonderful.
Mate.
When this series came out, I mean, Jesus Christ, it was so funny. Honestly, every episode I just think it's so good. It's I mean, memorable ones. You try and name a memorable one, and then you think, oh, but there's that one as well. Oh, there's that one.
Yeah.
Oh, there's that one.
Yeah.
That one.
Even the ones with people that are shitting it, like Les Dennis and Ross Kemp.
The Les Dennis one.
Les Dennis one is brilliant. The Ross Kemp one's brilliant as well. Special Army soldiers.
But they are not the people. So when I look at that, when I look at
Special Army soldiers.
When I look at series 1, and you're like, you've got Ben Stiller or Samuel L. Jackson or Kate Winslet, and then you've got Les Dennis. It works and it's great, and I'm really glad he picked it. But the way he got everybody to agree to send themselves up, it's like,
it's great.
Yeah,
it's so good. It's a similar show, and we'll probably talk about this anyway. It's a little bit similar to Life's Too Short, and I really enjoyed that as well. But
that has got one of my favourite scenes of all time, isn't it?
Yeah, the Liam
Neeson trying comedy. Oh,
I nearly picked that. I nearly
genius.
picked it. Would have been. It were either one of them.
But you're right. You're right. Extras has got so much more.
It's got more. It's got more to it. And it's got more.
Yeah.
The Patrick Stewart thing alone.
Oh man, it's just genius. And again the outtakes, man. Ricky Gervais trying not to lose it.
Yeah.
He's the only person.
There's that outtake where he goes, "I'm so sorry, Patrick." It's so funny.
Because he's laughing at the fact that Patrick's doing a great performance, but also he's getting him to say the stupidest stuff, but he's doing it with such
I'm like a James Bond character, and all these girls are in the helicopter, and all their clothes are off, but I've seen everything.
It's genius. It's
Well,
genius.
Apparently, scene as well, where it's teaching them to act.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
the bit where it says,
Jesus.
where he goes, I'm a wizard. It's so good. Honestly,
the bloopers are brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Do you know what? I mean, when you talk about stuff, do you find this? I want to watch it now. Now that we're talking about it, you want to watch it again.
This is the thing. So I was trying to get my girlfriend to watch Extras, and she just couldn't get into it because it is so British in its humor. And all of the colloquialisms as well that we get. I mean, she has no fucking clue who Les Dennis is, for a start, or Vinnie Jones, or Ross Kemp. So suddenly it's not funny to her,
Do you know what? It says a lot about them making the show, though, that they went there, because you'd think if they were selling out, they'd go, oh, we'll have the big action stars in that everybody knows and that. Yeah. But I always wonder how Americans would take to watching this show, because, like you say, they don't know who Les Dennis is. That's sort of, British all the way, isn't it? So it'd be really interesting.
Oh, God.
But not only not knowing who Les Dennis is, but knowing the story about Les Dennis, Amanda Holden, and Neil Morrissey, because that's what it all centers around as well.
The story itself about this guy who desperately wants to be an actor but can't break out of being an extra, but then makes it big with a Mrs. Brown's Boys kind of show. And his friend, who's his best friend, who starts losing him because he's lost in the fame. That's really beautiful as well. And his fucking agent. So without even having a celebrity in it, it's still good. Without even touching Daniel Radcliffe.
It's actually my favorite. It's my favorite Steve Merchant performance. I'm not a fan of Steve Merchant, but actually, he's brilliant in Extras.
Did you ever see him do the Empire Strikes Back read through on the Star Wars convention?
No.
He does the C-3PO read through. It's brilliant.
Is it really good? I can imagine he's probably good at a C-3PO. Yeah, I can imagine he's good at that. But he's brilliant. He's brilliant in Extras. I mean, fair fucks to the guy. He plays that character beautifully. I mean, Barry from EastEnders. If you're not English, you have no idea who Barry from EastEnders is, or why they keep referring to him as Barry. When his name's Sean.
There's a great episode where he goes into a bar after he's made it famous, and he's in the VIP lounge, and David Bowie.
That was I was about to say that.
And fucking he just gets inspired to write this song in front of him, and he sits down in front of the whole thing, and they start singing this horrible song about Ricky Gervais's character right in front of him, and he's mortified because he's a massive fan. And I just think it's
like stupid little fat man or something like that. It's
chubby little loser.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say we've got some comments, but we'll have a look at them after, because obviously there's some stuff in there that you guys.
But yeah, man, extras was one I was like, oh man, because it is actually my favorite that he's done. Do you know what I mean? That's what I was being truthful to the.
It's very complete, isn't it? As a whole arc, it's really complete.
I actually do
even with the thing with him going on Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah.
You know, spoiler alert. But you know, it's
one
great.
of those things I would have liked to have seen him go to the States in it. You know, where they always do it, don't they, in films and that, where they send a character across the States. This is one of them things where I thought, oh, I bet that would be quite funny.
It's also that
if he gets to go and do pilot season in the US or something, that would have been really good. Yeah,
it's a story about a man getting what he thinks he wanted as well.
That's right,
Do you know what I mean? He's wanted to break into fame for so long, and when he actually does for the wrong reasons, he can't live with himself, and he's just totally torn up about it.
He reminded me of the sitcom as well that it spoofs.
When the whistle blows.
But that's the thing. Now it's because when that came out, I put a tweet out that said, I'm convinced that Ricky Gervais is parodying Mrs. Brown's Boys when he wrote "When the Whistle Blows," and Ricky Gervais liked the tweet, and I was like, interesting, because it's full of catchphrases. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, but some of the moments in it, it's not without its cringy bits, which is famous for.
Yeah.
That in context really work. The bit where she goes on the date with the guy and she doesn't realize he's got a club foot. There's the bit where they meet Samuel L. Jackson and he accidentally slips. She says something stupid and he accidentally slips out with, "Oh no, she's not saying that she thinks you all look alike."
Yeah.
Because she mistakes him for Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, you're thinking of the wrong actor." She's like, "No, the guy in the Matrix." Yeah. And he's like, "No, that's Lawrence Fishburne." And then Ricky Gervais just blurts it out.
Yeah.
And it just it's amazing. What the
It's or it's when he's in that VIP area, and it's a similar scene where he refers to a lady as yellow, and she's like, "Sorry, what? Who's yellow?" And he's like,
Yeah. It's brilliant.
And it's just so awkward. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And I tell you what, he's a really good actor.
Yeah.
And I'm only saying that because the guy's made me laugh several times, and he's made me actually cry.
But what I do like is now he does get criticised, and I was asking a comedian friend of mine about this because she said that she likes Ricky Gervais's work, but she always finds that she's disappointed by him because there's the new trending comedy of never punching down but being able to punch up, across, or up, and that she feels like he punches down quite a lot. But having said that, I can't think of many comedians as mainstream as Ricky Gervais who have challenged racism and ableism and things like that in such a way. So that thing where we've two examples there where he is playing somebody who is being casually racist and then being confronted by it and then being faced with the fucking awful, awkward consequences of their own ignorance. And I think he has done that brilliantly, really well.
This is what people forget about him. Yes, maybe he could be accused of punching down, but every time he punches down, he accidentally punches himself in his own nuts. And that's, do you know what I mean?
I thought it was his mate who said all that stuff anyway in that scene. I don't think it were him. He went in to kind of sort it out.
Oh, she says some stupid stuff as well, but that's it. It's I don't know.
I don't know about that. That punching down thing's quite interesting because I don't think
he does either.
That's necessarily true, is it? Because if you think about it, it's the celebrity.
No, when you think about his stand-up, the way he talks about fat people, the way he very much does punch down.
Well,
doing that, he was pretty.
Again, it's hard to argue with him because he's unapologetic about it. And
yeah.
He just says, so what? It's just a joke. And like,
and that is, coming from, I mean, I do gigs and we get stuff all the time, as you know. And I'm very, I think you should be able to say really like he does, you know, be unapologetic. You get sick of seeing all these people apologizing for stuff. You think, well, did you mean it when you said it? Because you know, some of this stuff is meant to be jokes. It's so difficult. I think, though, I will say, I think there's a place for stuff, but at the moment, everybody jumps on stuff so fast. You haven't got time to kind of.
I think that is really interesting, because there was an example this week in a theatre publication, the Stage newspaper, where a reviewer got it wrong. He got it wrong. He defended somebody who had historically mimicked, I think it was the voice of Billie Holiday, but she'd done like a real character-esque black voice of Billie Holiday singing her songs, and it wasn't particularly funny, and it turns out Billie Holiday was not a fan of it at all. And this guy there are people who are saying that maybe it's not right that she should come and do a West End lead, come over from America and do it. And he wrote this article in defense of her, and a couple of people reached out to him and just explained why it was offensive, what she'd done. And it wasn't just the act of what she'd done, but it was also the way that she then wouldn't listen to anybody who was trying to offer another opinion, and that they would just shut down. And this newspaper critic journalist, he completely backed down, and he was like, I've had it explained to me by two people who I respect so much, who've taken the time and the energy to explain how I was being ignorant, and I'm really sorry. But that didn't stop 3 days of people piling on to that initial tweet, which he'd also corrected and rewritten the article. But it was just all these people just going at him for 3 days. And he was like, guys, I've absolutely listened to it, to the point where one of the guys had actually, Cedric Alexander, had just replied to him saying, ignore them. Ignore them. You listened, you corrected, you understood, you learned. And that's it, but it's just not good enough for some people.
I'm sad to hear that Billie Holiday was upset by it, because she's been dead since 1959, so I don't know how that happened.
I mustn't. Do you know what? It mustn't have been Billie Holiday then, but it was a very prominent female black singer, and she was. Yeah,
but the thing is, when Amy Winehouse or Paloma Faith does an album, and they're both white girls that sound like black singers, like Aretha Franklin or Billie Holiday or whoever.
Yeah,
is that cultural appropriation?
Well, no, but it wasn't about. No, it wasn't. She wasn't criticised for cultural appropriation. It was criticised for literally ripping the piss out of the song. He used exactly the same song with all the same mannerisms and things like that. It was
now, see, to be in amongst this minefield of things you can and can't say. You need to be Ricky Gervais. You need to be on the cusp of it and take acceptance for it. And I've never seen him not do that. You know what I mean?
No, but that's the thing about this guy, that although I didn't agree with his article in the first place, and I had a bit of an issue with it, I thought. I found myself struggling not to respond to people saying, so what is it that you're wanting from people? People make mistakes. Do you want people to furiously defend and be ignorant and never listen? Or do you want people to listen, accept, understand, learn, and correct? And apologize? Because surely if you're not going to accept apologies, there is no point in apologizing. So you're never going to get what it is that you want. Do you know what I mean? It just seems really strange. I don't know what, and I don't think there's a cancel culture as such, but I do think there's a pile-on culture, and I think that is kind of what we're talking about.
There's a lot of ups and downs with it. To be honest, it's something I'm not even particularly interested in anymore. In what's offending people and what's not offending people. I'm bored of it. I'm sick of listening. I just don't fucking listen to it. Then. Do you know what I mean?
have no issues with
something every day, and they're getting cancelled. It's like, we talked about it when it happened with the Muppets, putting them on Disney Plus, and they can't show certain episodes and all this business. Then the thing with the Disney, Snow White, they've got to change that because the prince didn't get consent to, things like that. And you think,
no, but has that actually happened? Because a lot of the times in these stories, what we're hearing are predominantly right-wing newspapers who are making a big fuss out of something that hasn't happened. Just like, Rule Britannia not being sung at the proms last year. Well, the reason it wasn't sung was because it's an audience participation thing, and there was no fucking audience there. That was the whole point. And actually the BBC hadn't cancelled it at all, but It was just the way it was written about. And I think there's a lot of people making a lot of money and getting a lot of attention, just like that guy we were talking about earlier, being shit posters and courting controversy. And
but, you know, it's also that question of whether, if you're going to cast a film that happens to have a gay man in it, that actor needs to be gay, or whether it can be straight or not. So recently there was a movie a couple of years ago called Ideal Home. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's Paul Rudd and Steve Coogan, and they play a gay couple in America.
Good. Yeah.
It's a great film. And it's done really sensitive. Yeah, but the thing is, Brokeback Mountain's like what, 15, 20
Philadelphia as well.
But that's back then. So what they're saying is what we were doing back then, casting all these straight people to try their acting chops playing a gay person. I mean, I understand that, yes, there are gay actors that need roles, but I also understand that for an actor to be able to convince people you're gay and show and learn a little bit about it, you know what I mean? I've heard.
It's a real tricky one, isn't it? Because you think people play serial killers all the time. It doesn't mean they're a serial killer.
No, this is one where I do have an issue, because one, if love is love, which love is love, of course it is. If you love someone, you love them, regardless of their gender or their sex or how they identify with themselves. Love is love. So anybody who has been in love can play somebody who is in love. But also to say that there aren't roles for gay actors. As an actor, you know, I most of my friends in this industry are gay men. You know, it's an industry that's full of gay men. You know, so I find that argument a little bit laughable.
Yeah, I mean, would you go with if you were auditioning people? I think it would be sycophantic to just choose the guy that was gay as opposed to the best actor for the job.
Well, this is the other thing. Also, you're not allowed to hire people based on. You're not even allowed to ask somebody's sexuality in a job interview and things like that. So, you know, I also think that you'll be breaking lots of.
Do you know what, though?
Very important changes in work legislation.
Unfortunately, though, it isn't about the talent anymore. That's the problem. You know, it's not about how talented these people are.
It hasn't been about talent for a long time.
The thing is, though, I mean, you find that, okay, quite recently, I'd say maybe in the past 10 years, I started watching a bunch of classic films that I'd never seen, that it was bugging me that I'd never watched, right? One of them was a little movie called Breakfast at Tiffany's. Have you heard of it? Have you seen it? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And it's not a bad film, except for the fact that right in the middle of it, Mickey Rooney is playing a Japanese neighbor who literally, I would not even do the impression, it's that offensive. As a person living in like 2010 watching this movie, the film was really good. Yeah. And that was so jarring that I could not help but think that must have been jarring even at the time.
Yeah.
Because that's so overtly over the top. It's so insensitive. It's so unfunny that, you know, it's just an odd time. Gives you a lot of perspective on these things, doesn't it?
I would like to also add to what I just said about the whole thing with only being gay people being able to play gay roles. It would be fucking great if I don't think there are that many gay roles in major Hollywood feature movies, but if it would be good if there were a couple that were played by gay men. I do, you know, that there is that as well. I don't think it should exclusively, but I do think that it would be nice to see a trend broken, because we have seen
the very nature of the job, isn't it? Acting, it's been, you know, it's
pretending to be something you're not.
Yeah, I know, but then how far do you push that? Because we don't want Mickey Rooney to play a Japanese man, you know, at the same time. So
that's the whole thing. Like that's a different, though, isn't it? That's, you know, that's actually.
But that's why these conversations are important, because it's not either or. There's nuance to it, and there's common sense, and there's fairness, and I think that's the
also
other thing.
Reactionary attitude that gets you into a lot of hot water straight away, rather than just considering things a bit and waiting for it to die down and giving it some time. Now you got this instantaneous. This has offended me, and I'm upset. Well, you might not be upset next week. You might be fine. Do you know what I mean?
Or you might genuinely be upset and tell me why. You know, I don't necessarily need to go and read a book to find out why you might be upset. Sometimes tell me why you're upset. I don't need to go and figure it out myself. If you're upset, tell me why. And then I can listen and understand and, you know, maybe give you reasons why you shouldn't be upset, or
this
completely
is why
take
I
on
think-
board what you're saying and
This is why I
apologize.
think so much of it is on comments on the internet, because somebody's always listening on the internet.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? So that theory that you can only exercise your demons by making a comment on a forum somewhere actually works. My gosh, the kid's got the lurgy. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did hear that. I thought, well, I'm glad it was Robin and not the cat.
No, I think it's the boy on the monitor.
Anyway, Lummy, what is your worst Ricky Gervais?
It's breakfast at Tiffany. No. Right, I went for this one. Invention of Lying.
Yeah.
Now,
How young he looks there. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Now, I don't think anybody's performance is bad in the film. I just think the film doesn't work. I think
It's not a great film.
the idea just doesn't work in the concept of it, because it's supposed to be people can't lie, but what they actually do in the film a lot of the time, they're telling the thoughts to people. And it's not the same thing. And it's never worked for this film. I don't think he wrote this either. I think it's just one of them what he did.
Yeah.
And I also think that it falls into that category of like films we talked about last week, like Liar Liar and things. That concept of the movie, it's not always, it's not got any longevity sometimes. The whole story,
when you say last week, you mean on the pre-recorded episode that is yet to be released at a later date. But
nobody would have known that if you hadn't fucking said it, though. Honestly,
well, apart from those people who've watched, apart
you make me want to be
every show.
I wish you were a minority that I could.
I know I've watched every single minute of. I know I've watched every single minute of the Geek Show. I don't remember them talking about Liar Liar and Jim Carrey.
There's only one thing that can calm this situation down.
Oh,
that's not it.
There he is.
Yeah. Old saggy Indiana Jones.
Oh, come on, be nice. Be nice.
Can't, Lummy.
I mean,
Indiana Jones through rose-tinted glasses, mate.
Genuinely does look like in India.
You better like my new movie.
He looks, I mean, you look good there, Harrison. But in the other one, you do look like Indiana Bones. You do look like just very old. But yes, Invention of Lying. No, you're right. As a concept, it doesn't work, and it's a shame because it would be nice if it did.
Yeah,
it's an interesting idea, but they just not followed through properly.
I don't know if it came out around the same time, but what's that one called where he were a dentist?
Ghost Town.
I really liked that one.
That's great.
That works.
For some reason, these films remind me of each other, but that one I really liked.
That's one, because one of them's plausible for some reason, even though he's talking to dead people. It works better than some. Yeah, it just works better. It's better writing, I guess.
I don't think he wrote this, did he? This Invention of Lying.
I think he wrote some Ghost Town though, didn't he? Yeah. Was he a writer on that?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
I don't know.
Let's have a little look.
Oh yeah, if you're going to accuse him of selling out, a movie like Invention of Lying is a perfect example of like.
And I wonder if it is one of those where he did it and then thought, do you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I just get that vibe from it. I don't know why.
I reckon that if there is anything, it would. If you probably could track down online and see what he said about it in the past, because I reckon you get the honest truth about it.
He did not write or direct or have anything to do with that. He just starred in Ghost Town.
What about the Invention of Lying? Both of them.
Just gonna have a little look.
But yeah, I mean, for some reason, you're right. You're able to suspend belief because one of them's a better made movie. Is pretty much it. You know,
I think the idea of being lying doesn't exist and then somebody does invent it is an okay concept, but I just don't think whoever's written it has put it together right. It just doesn't.
I think it's a great example of walking yourself into a hole because you can only go one way with the movie.
Why don't you tweet at Ricky Gervais, who co-wrote, co-directed, and co-produced it?
Whoa!
There you are.
Which
Ricky
movie?
Gervais. Invention of Lying.
Co-wrote, who wrote the writer? One merchant, more at this.
No, it wasn't. It's one I haven't heard of.
Because I can't be asked. I can't be asked. I'm not on Twitter. I don't really care that much. Are there enough reasons? And also, I don't want him to be mean to me. He might make a
that's a pretty good reason, to be honest. Well, my favourite Ricky Gervais is the
Nobody
Ricky
asked.
Gervais. Is the Ricky Gervais podcast because it was the show that got me into podcasts. Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant. There are in hundreds of episodes. They did loads of different versions of it where they did big episodes where they looked at philosophy. They looked at, kind of like his stand-up shows a little bit, where him and Stephen Merchant are absolutely pulling Carl Pilkington, who is just a wonderful prophet. In some ways, he reminds me of Webby on this show, that he's the voice of everybody else, and he says things that might be an unpopular opinion, but it's true. And
not always true, but he's got a.
But you know what I mean? There's an element of, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Idiot savant about him, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, for me, it's the bloody bit in Idiot Abroad where he says he'd rather be the guy living in the shithole across the road from the castle than living in the castle or the
it's
temple.
Not in the castle, it's the thing where in Last Crusade, it's the...
the place in Jordan, but he starts out by saying that point, I'd rather be the guy living in the mound of dirt who gets to see the beauty than live in the beauty. And then at the end of that show, he's stood in a hut looking at the place and he goes, see what I mean?
He actually says it. No. He actually says it while he's in the hut with the guy next to him who lives in the hut. And he goes, I mean, thing is, this is a bit of a shithole, isn't it? But I think you've got it right, because I'd rather live in this shithole looking at that place than living in that place and looking at your shithole. It's just like, oh, I mean, you basically said you've got a nice view, is basically all you said here. But no, I think the point.
That theory works with personalised number plates. I can't stand them, and I always think you can't see it. Why have you got it in your car?
But I think arguably without the Ricky Gervais Show podcast, you wouldn't have had An Idiot Abroad. You wouldn't have had a lot of the things that he's produced. A lot of his stand-up.
Do you prefer the audio version or the animated one of this show then?
Do you know what? That's a really good question. I prefer the audio version, although the animated version is great. It's brilliant. It's really good.
I think they picked a good team to animate it, didn't they? It's good style.
It's done really, really well. The reason I'm not as keen on the animated version, though, is because it cuts loads of stuff out of the episodes. I mean, I have got them all. On audiobook, and it's just brilliant. It feels like you're hanging out with a couple of friends, when you're listening to it. It's really good.
Like,
I don't know. It's been a while, I've got to say. YouTube pieces of shit. But no, it's brilliant. Sorry, that was a bit harsh, wasn't it? Wow.
Just because you're jealous that your podcast's nowhere near as good as that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be fucking funny.
I try my best, man. But one of you needs a head like a fucking orange. But no, it's brilliant. But no, it's brilliant. It's really funny. If you haven't heard them, go and find them. There's a load of them on YouTube.
Is that a swimming cap, Webb?
No, it's just a normal cap.
It's cool. He's cool. He's wearing it backwards.
Oh
yeah, man. It's the kind of hat you can put on backwards if you so choose. I like it.
Nice, I like it.
A nice hat. It's the only kind of hat that suits me as a baseball cap, and I've tried them all. Trilbies, fedoras, none of them.
Just to wrap this segment up, my worst Ricky Gervais product is Humanity, the stand-up show. Just didn't sit with me well. It was a lot of the same jokes, a lot of similar jokes. I think if you've listened to his podcast, you've watched all his other stand-up specials, there's very little in this show that you haven't heard before. And that just kind of surprised me because he does come at things with lots of fresh angles and fresh ideas, and his stand-up shows in particular. And I was just, I
think maybe you're right that he does rely on the old sort of running joke or things that call back to his other shows. But from what I remember in this show, there are a few really controversial yet really funny, very dark jokes.
But I think you'd heard most of them.
Why him and his partner never had kids. Jesus, it's fucking dark.
No,
it's
absolutely.
Really funny.
No, I get that.
Nuts.
I get that. I just preferred like something like Science or something like Animals. I mean, Animals was such a wonderful show. It was just so new and fresh the way that
that was his first one as well.
It was, it was, and it was excellent. It was just a really, really good show.
I'll tell you what, I am impressed with the fact that he wasn't from a stand-up background. Because I don't think he was.
No, he wasn't.
I might be right. No. So to go in and do that and actually, after he's actually famous as well. It's not
No.
like
And look how he sets it up as well. He sets himself up as like a full lecturer, doesn't he, with a lecture
Yes.
and
Yes.
all the slides and everything.
Yeah, it's cool.
But the jokes write themselves because as he's flicking through a bit with the dolphins.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Dolphins mating habits and stuff, and the bloody daddy longlegs being one of the most venomous creatures on the
That's
planet.
crazy, and having no teeth. I was thinking about that the other night because there was a daddy longlegs in my bathroom, and I was just like, oh yeah, most venomous. Fucking idiot. But anyway, that was a long best and worst. That's probably the longest one we've ever done. That was interesting. That sparked a lot of
we've
debate.
had a controversial chat there about.
We have had a controversial chat, and what have our lovely community had to say about it?
Said, let's have a look. Big Timor really enjoyed the Ricky Vish show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. It just made me guffaw a lot.
Bit like Webby with Highlander. Everyone was banging on about The Office, so never got.
Me too. I was years late to that. I was absolutely years late to The Office.
I haven't seen the American Office.
Oh,
so
mate.
Both real.
Yeah, man. I'm scared how much you're going to actually like the American Office when you get around to watching it, mate. Because it's one of those. It even won my cynical older brother over who don't like anything.
Yeah,
like anything, don't even like himself. That's how much he don't like stuff. No.
Martin said this. Look, only things I've liked of Ricky's were Night at the Museum or Idiot Abroad.
Oh, Martin, I'm losing you, aren't I? I'm going to win him over again.
Let's have a look. Derek for me.
Yeah, Derek was great. Beautiful.
Big Team R had to go. He said,
"Oh, should we get to say goodbye?" But there's some interesting from
Pop Not Brox just got in, Mrs. And it's shame because I have a lot of edgy opinions on this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And actually, I'd have loved to have heard your opinions because I think you might have come at things from a slightly different angle.
I think that's why we want to talk about him. Yeah, that's why we want to talk about. He's a love him or hate him guy. Or you think you hate him, and then you actually think, oh my god, actually, I can't deny he's talented, like I did.
And I agree. I agree to a degree with you on that last comment, Pop Not Broth. That actually, although the guy who replaced Derek was a fucking brilliantly written character, because we see that. So the guy who replaced Carl Pilkington in Derek. Was a brilliantly written character, and we see so many of those guys on. We see lots of those guys on online in the comment section. Not on our comment section, but they're the reply guys. So I think you're right. It was less interesting, and Carl Pilkington's character was brilliant in Derek.
Been a long time. Good. I forgot that he'd left. To be honest.
Yeah, I'd forgotten as well because it was a rewatch for me.
First series.
Okay.
Yeah.
He never wanted to be an actor, though, did he?
He's in the first episode of the second season as well.
He never wanted to be an actor, but Ricky Gervais won him over by saying, I'm not asking you to act, I'm just asking you to just do what you do. I don't think you realise that that's kind of the same thing I'm after, the naturalism side of thing.
Yeah.
So the people, the conspiracy about Carl Pilkington actually being an actor all along and not having all these things are all, man, maybe. Maybe, I doubt it, man. Jesus,
no, because he's kept this up for a long time.
Andy Kaufman ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because this has been going on since he was a producer at XFM on their radio show, and that's the other thing. It all came from the XFM radio show that they had. Yeah.
Best monkey news ever, though, was the Russian TV station.
Yes, yeah, I remember that. That was absolutely brilliant. That was brilliant. Oh, thanks, Pop Not Broth, and thank you, Martin, as well for your comments, and though. Right, guys, we were going to do a bit of a retrospective this one. We are going to do a bit of a retrospective about all things Monty Python this week. Monty Python. What do you guys got to say about Monty Python? I mean, where do you start? I mean, their catalogue of work is so vast.
Well, let's start with Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Go on, then. Seems like a good place to start. So, a few weeks before they started filming for Monty Python's Flying Circus, Spike Milligan of The Goon Show, the team that had pretty much inspired and influenced all of them, all of the Pythons. About 2 weeks before they started filming it, Spike Milligan had released one of his last shows, And John Cleese phoned up Tony Gilliam in a blind panic and was like, "Holy shit, have you just seen this?" And Tony Gilliam was like, "Yeah, isn't that what we were just about to be doing?" So that was that's some big shoes to fill when you're coming into your first week.
I don't think they give themselves enough credit when you go right back to things like what's the show that he did with Ronnie Corbett and Ronnie Barker, John Cleese? Yeah, when they do that, the working man, upper class man, and the middle class man. I mean, they were heading in that direction. Yeah, the surreal aspect didn't really reach them, and people like the Goon Show and Spike Milligan were massively influential on that. But it was the time as well. If you look at what was going on in culture at the time, everything was changing. Everything was getting a little bit like more against the institution and a lot more peace and love, and it just sort of timed it really well. Now, shocking confession for you, I've watched almost everything that most of Monty Python have done, and I mean that. Even their separate films, things they wrote themselves, all sorts of shit. But I cannot watch Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, I've
what is it about it?
Just something underwhelming about it. Compared to the other things I've seen. So I've tried. I've watched all the seasons.
Like there's this kind of air of classicness about it all, and you've come to it too
late. Maybe. Or
that's so heavily quoted as well.
Yeah. There's individual sketches that I absolutely love, but I can't say that I first saw them on the Monty Python show. I probably saw them on Hollywood, live at Hollywood.
Well, have you seen? This is what we're going to come to actually, because it's tied in with the actual TV show. Have you seen this before? Now for something completely different.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So what you know about that, don't you? The film, the sketches again for this movie to show to American
released in
audiences.
America.
Yeah. And then ironically, it did better in the UK than it did in America. But that's where I really saw them first sketches in that movie, and then I went and watched the other, original versions, if you like, of them.
I've seen them all. I've seen the Monty Python shows. I mean, they were on TV repeats when I was a kid. I used to watch them with my dad.
Yeah.
Way before I knew that what the hell was going on. I remember seeing the old women, the evil old women, and the Superman sketch, the one where everybody's a Superman.
Repairman.
Bicycles repairman, yeah. And the fish slapping sketch and all sorts of stuff. But I never saw them in the show. When I went back to watch them, it's almost like too much time had gone by, and it wasn't as.
So it's funny you should say that, because as we've previously discussed, I went to the O2 to see their reunion gig back in, was it 20?
So did I. I went
2015, 2016. How did you find it? Was Stephen Hawkins at every show?
No, I went on the. My brother won tickets for it. Believe it or not, our Richard.
I believe it.
All right. We went on the last night of it, but there you go.
I think they had a different guest star every night. They had Mike Myers was at one. Stephen Hawking was sketch, as well as being on stage for one or two things.
Stephen Hawking was on the video.
Yeah, they did a sketch with Brian Cox talking about the universe at the side of the canal, and Stephen Hawking comes flying past him on a fucking.
But he was also in the one of the balconies in the O2. He was there. So
he does the song. He does the universe song. They've got Stephen Hawking's voice doing the universe itself keeps on expanding. I can't do the voice, but But yeah.
Now, what did you think of the reunion show, Lummy? What did you think of that live show?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was the atmosphere of it. I think everybody. The good thing about it, they kept messing up on. Maybe did they mess up when you were doing it? When you watched it?
A bit, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think because it was the last night, they just got to that point where they just wanted to have a real laugh. It was the atmosphere. They were pissing about all the time in the.
So I went to the one that was televised. So the one that was broadcast live. Yeah. Yeah. So that was for me. It was more like
obviously I wasn't there in the audience, and from a watching at home
purist.
Kind of thing, what I really like about it is people were saying, "Oh, they just want to cash in on the money," and that they did. They were perfectly fine with that, but I didn't find out the reason why until I watched the documentary, which is on Netflix, which is about the filming of the live show. That was just some crazy journalists were trying to sue them.
Yeah,
and they've literally got millions out of them and kept just finding a loophole to get more money out of them. So they said if we do,
they mentioned it in the parrot sketch. That right now, did they mention that when you watched it, Rich? he actually broke
I
off
can't
John
remember.
Cleese and he started talking about this journalist, like, and Michael Palin was still there going, "Are we gonna keep on with sketch?" Honestly, it was so
Really?
funny.
The only way we know is if we watch the recording of the live show, because I can't remember. All I remember, I was naive and I didn't expect it to be like a karaoke show, but that's kind of what it was. No, like a karaoke show. It was basically 100,000 people reciting almost every single line around you, and it was.
Now, this is what's really interesting about this. Everything that Monty Python ever did was split up, right? So in the group, you got Terry Gilliam working on his own, animating, doing his best to make things link together and make things funny through animation. You got Michael Palin and Terry Jones writing together, Eric Idle pretty much writing on his own, and Chapman and Cleese writing together. Everybody had their own different style. When they came to do this live show, because of the success of Spamalot and the other ones, they just said to Eric Idle, you direct it, do what you want. We want it to be a big extravaganza, a big cabaret. We want it, we want people to sing along. We want them to hear the favorite bits. And even going into rehearsals, there's a bit where John Cleese was going, I was like dreading doing this shit again. I was dreading doing some of it again because I don't even know if it's funny anymore. But as soon as we started, I never used to corpse at this stuff. I never used to laugh at it, but now I'm just laughing all the time. Michael Palin's cracking me up, and that's just in the rehearsals. Good documentary, man. It was quite sweet. And it's made more poignant by the fact that Terry Jones was really, really losing it at the time, and his memory had started to go.
Yeah.
And he was struggling to learn his lines, and he was struggling to be present. And they keep taking the piss out of him in it, where they keep calling him a doddery old man and stuff.
And that happens on the live show.
And that where he can't remember his lines, and John Cleese says to him, "They're on the fucking chocolate box," and he comes in and starts reading them.
But then this led to him realizing he was ill, and then a couple of months later getting diagnosed with dementia and stuff. So. Yeah, it's quite sad. So it's
interesting.
Just to go back a bit, we've jumped right to sort of the most recent thing they did. There's a couple of noteworthy things I want to talk about. I remember being a kid in 1989 when Graham Chapman died. I remember my dad being devastating. I remember him watching on BBC 1 or 2 the footage from the memorial. And it's absolutely brilliant when John Cleese gets up to eulogize his best friend and writing partner. And
who they had quite a fraught relationship as well. There was times
none of them were easy to work with. But John Cleese,
but they in particular. But we'll talk about it in a second.
Says of his best friend is an ex-Python, and ceased to be, and basically says "good riddance to you, old bastard."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, and it was unheard of at the time to do something like that on live TV in front of his friends and family, and everybody's in stitches. They all get the spirit of what it's.
Yeah, totally. So John Cleese and Graham Chapman, they both auditioned for the Cambridge Footlights when they were at university, and neither of them got in. But they went to the pub afterwards and they had a chat, about their experience and stuff. And the supervisor, John Cleese, said it. I remember thinking, I don't like that guy. I don't like him. And then Graham Chapman actually went off and became a qualified medical doctor. Off the back of that. But it's quite interesting because obviously Graham Chapman is a really tragic character in so many ways. The alcoholism, and John Cleese was reminded that he found Graham Chapman irritating, when they were working quite prolifically with each other, because what would happen was that they'd spend 2 weeks writing a sketch and Graham Chapman just couldn't remember the lines. He couldn't get the lines out. He couldn't. And they said there was just some brilliant sketches that we spent 2 weeks doing, and like we're just there filming it, and then it's like, forget it. You can't do the lines. Forget it. And he was like, it wasn't that I was angry. It was worse than that. I was irritated because I couldn't be angry because of the alcoholism. So I had to bottle up that anger, and what's worse than anger is just being fucking irritated all the time. So, but the thing is, during this time, because we're very intelligent, they're all very intelligent people, but Graham Chapman had been invited to the prestigious Oxford Union to do a debate, and the Oxford Union is very famous for having, pretty much every night of the week, they have a very big debate, or they have a guest speaker, or they have a famous artist come to perform, and they invited, for some unknown reason, Graham Chapman to come and debate with a couple of MPs the ideas of nuclear disarmament. So there was a Labour peer, there was a Tory peer, there was a couple of scientists, there was an audience, the TV cameras, and Graham Chapman turned up to this debate dressed like a carrot, with a green sprouting vegetable green hat that he was wearing, and he was like these.
The deeply tragic side of Graham Chapman is that the alcoholism brought him down, but it was because he was openly gay in a world that didn't accept openly gay people. His team accepted him. I mean, they were quite forward thinking and quite groovy people, so they didn't have a problem with it. But the rest of the world, but he was openly gay at that time. That is just unheard of. Do you know what I mean? For somebody that famous and that clever and that brilliant to just say it like it is. So yeah, it was awful. It was an awful struggle to drink to the point where you know you're dying but can't stop. If you listen to his partner from the time talking about him and how the conversations they had about it and what he was doing to himself, it's quite tragic. Again, there's a documentary on Netflix that covers everything Python. If you guys haven't seen it out there, Almost the Truth. I know you guys have seen it. I mean, the audience, called Almost the Truth. It's 6 parts, about 6 juicy hours filled with everything you need to know about Monty Python from right from the beginning.
In fact, what are you watching us for? What are you watching us for? Go watch that. It's much better, much more informative.
So let's get down to the nitty gritty. Yeah, the show is the show. Yeah, a bit of time passed. They went off and made the first movie, and George Harrison helped them find.
Interesting about that, just before we move on from the series, John Cleese didn't do the last series.
Yeah, he wasn't in the last one.
No.
Anyway, sorry, Webb.
So then they stopped doing Monty Python for a good 5 years. They occasionally got together and did some live shows, things like the Hollywood Bowl. But then they got the idea to go to Barbados and write a script that was going to be something to do with Jesus. That's what they thought. It was going to be something to do with spirituality, something to do with religion. And they came back with Life of Brian.
Hang on. Wasn't Spamalot before Life of Brian?
No.
I don't think so, no. I think that was the next one.
Holy Grail was, yeah.
Sorry, Holy Grail, not Spamalot. Holy Grail was before Python because it was the one where they didn't have enough money. That's why they couldn't afford a horse, which is why they've got the coconuts. And that was Michael Palin's idea. And it ended up just being this really famous thing that carried on into the Spamalot musical and things like that.
It's the funniest thing in that film for me. It's not my favourite, is Holy Grail.
I know you don't like the ending, do you? Because you think it's obvious that they ran out of money.
There's some lovely jokes in it. There's some good bits in it, but I do get annoyed that they threw away the ending and they get the excuse because they're an absurdist comedy troupe. They can do what they want. Fair enough, fair point, but it's not my particular favourite ending. And to be honest with you, Life of Brian is...
You got all the killer rabbit stuff.
It's funny. It's amusing. There's some good bits. The Black Knight.
The Knights of St. Neat.
Great bit.
Castle Anthrax.
Yeah, there's some good bits, but it's not for me. That and Life of Brian have got completely different things to say about the world. You know what I mean? That's why I like Life of Brian. There's just there's so many more nuances to it about culture,
so I was watching,
about people.
I was listening to John Cleese speak about the Holy Grail, and it was all filmed in Scotland. And actually, it's quite amusing that there was only one castle that would let them film this comedy, because all of the other castles are, hey, no, you can't film a comedy in a castle. No. And they just kind of really looked down upon them. And now that the castle that they were allowed to film in gets fucking millions of visitors every single year, paying visitors to come and visit this place because of the fame that Monty Python have brought to
another reason why this one leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It is too heavily quotable. There's too many fucking, your mother's smells of elderberries and bloody hell. Is that what you've got? You're just going to throw a couple of cheap lines at me? Do you know
That's
what
not
I mean?
their fault, though.
No, it's the audience's fault. You know, but
there's quotes in Life of Brian as well. You could say that about
I know, yeah, exactly.
There is, but I don't quote any of them. I'm not gonna go. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy, because it's not the best line in the film.
That's probably the most famous quote of theirs.
I know, and it's not. I'm not a quote guy, dude. You know, for me, it's like catchphrase.
Hang on, but
writing.
you just said that's why you don't like Holy Grail because it's the most quotable. It's like
it's too quotable. Yeah. The Knights Who Say Neat. And plus, I had a lot of friends. I still have a lot of friends that are kind of obsessed by that movie, and it's the wrong movie. It's not the best of the movies.
Okay, so John Cleese hated filming that film because it famously only stops raining for about 4 days in Scotland, and they're in September. So we're there. It's absolutely chucking it down with rain. We're just soaking wet. We've got this woolen chainmail armor on in the film that is it's just useless when it gets rained on. So we had to keep stopping, and it ended up costing lots of money. But the film was received really, really well. And then it came to do Life of Brian. Now, they couldn't get funding anywhere. They needed £2 million to film Life of Brian, and they could not get the funding anywhere, to the point where John Cleese had then gone off to agree to do a film with Peter Sellers in the US, and then got a phone call from Eric Idle saying, right, we're back on with Life of Brian. And he was like, what? He said, yeah, 3 weeks' time, we're going out there to film it. And he's like, how? And as Webby said earlier on, George Harrison's going to fund it. And he was like, what? And basically, he'd shown George Harrison the script, and then got a phone call from George Harrison like 2 days later, and he was like, I'll pay for your film.
And that, well,
it wasn't even that, was it? It was
the handmade films.
Handmade films. But
no, but the reason he said I'll pay for the film, and he said, what do you mean? And he's like, I've read the script. I want to see this film, so I'll pay for it.
George Harrison then got to tell everybody in every interview since then that it was the most expensive cinema ticket I've ever bought. But legend has it that actually, when he did this, he didn't have a lot of money, did George Harrison? Compared to us, he had a lot of money. He was a fucking Beatle. But he wasn't at the top of his game. He didn't have as much money. He actually he mortgaged his house against it.
Really?
That's how strongly he believed in
I did not know that.
Yeah. And the controversy that came with this film, people mistaking it for a film that was having a pop at religion or taking the piss out of Jesus, drew it so much attention, it just went stratospheric. It just made them the fucking huge amounts of money.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it all comes back to what we said earlier about them tweets. You know, as soon as a bit of controversy or somebody against it, you know, your audience just flies.
And
could have happened to it. Really.
And the very, very famous TV show Friday Night, Saturday Morning, which had a guest host every single week, a famous celebrity guest host. And actually, for the week that they had Malcolm Muggeridge, who was a comedian and commentator, and the Bishop of Southwark, which I can't remember his name, it's Mervyn Stockwood. They had them on to basically lambast Cleese and Palin over the film. But the guest host that week, did you notice who it was, Webby?
I can't remember who it is.
It's Tim Rice, who had just penned the lyrics to Jesus Christ Superstar, like a few years before, and had also courted controversy about that. And that is, it's about 50 minutes long, that debate, and it is fascinating. It's fascinating. For a start, the Bishop of Southwark, he was a guest bishop who'd come to John Cleese's preparatory school and preached the sermon. You know, John Cleese was like, "This is fucking." He said in the debate, "Just religion to me seemed preposterous. We get all these old people coming in, telling me these things, telling me about this angry God, about this guy, you know." And the Bishop of Southwark was like, "I mean, I came to preach at your school." Yeah, I mean, you were very good. You were very, you know. And there's this quite funny, interesting relationship between him and Cleese during this debate. But it's Malcolm Muggeridge who just pulls no punches, who keeps referring to it as a 10th-rate film.
That's what he thinks he's doing, but what he's actually doing is just attracting people to it.
But that is exactly what we're talking about. But you'll get your 10
pieces of silver.
Yeah, well, that's the Bishop of Southwark.
It's a load of
Southwark says that. Yeah,
but you know, they deliberately picked Michael Palin and John Cleese from them. They asked Monty Python to send some representatives, and they had a meeting about it to decide who was going to go. Chapman didn't trust himself to go. Terry Gilliam couldn't be asked, not his thing. And Michael Palin was put forward as the person to go because he was the least likely to rise to it.
Yeah, I know. And then we've got this. Well, I've got it here. I've got the very
his-
famous quote here.
his
So
rag.
you've got Malcolm Muggeridge, who states for like maybe the fourth time in this debate, he says, "I started off by saying that this is such a 10th-rate film that I don't believe that would disturb anybody's faith." To which Michael Palin replies, "Yes, I know you started with an open mind. I realise that." But he says it, and he's obviously so barbed by this comment. He is really quite, shaken by it, and it's a fascinating watch. If any of you haven't seen it before, go and YouTube it. It's brilliant.
I think a massive part of that is because neither of these people had seen the film, and they keep arguing.
No, they had seen it. They both had seen it. Yeah, they had seen it.
Right, okay.
And that's the thing, because Malcolm Muggeridge is a comedian of sorts. So he was talking about all these schoolboy jokes, and even the Bishop of Southwark was talking about these jokes that were O-level undergraduate levels of comedy. To which John Cleese is wetting himself laughing. He's like, "Yeah, cool, fair." But we honestly did not set out to change anybody's belief. All we did, in fact, it's not a comment on Jesus at all. We show Jesus, he's a really good man. If we wanted to make fun of Jesus, there were so many opportunities to do that. But for me, the film, in fact, John Cleese references it himself. The film is about what you are seeing now. People blindly following something without questioning it and making their own reason. And it's the famous bit where Brian leaves his gourd and then his sandal, and then you've got the followers of the gourd, the followers of the sandal. But that's not a sandal; it's a flip-flop. Oh, but no, he's told us we should hold it aloft. No, he said that we should all wear one, and we then know what it's like to walk. And it's the way that religion then splinters from this one. It's so.
There's a
and
bit
there are
where,
schoolboy jokes in it, but that is so sophisticated. It's fun.
There's a bit during this little interview as well where, as they're making the point that it's sacrilegious, and John Cleese says it's not against Jesus Christ. When you see the sermon, we show the Sermon of the Mount, and at the back of the fucking audience of the Sermon of the Mount is the people who are always in the audience who can't hear. Speak up a bit, you know what I mean? He's not taking the piss out of Christ. And as he's telling this and explaining it to people who haven't seen the movie, the entire audience gets the joke.
No, they have seen the film. They have seen the film.
The audience, man. Not everybody in the audience might have seen the film.
Apologies.
So as he's explaining the comedy of the film, the audience back him up by laughing at that premise of the. Do you know what I mean? And it totally undermines these two old diddery old farts.
Apologies, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And it is interesting, actually, that there is a small percentage of the audience, and it shows how different this country is now, or how our society is now. That actually there was a percentage of that audience that were backing the Bishop of Southwark and Malcolm Muggeridge. But it's interesting how towards the end of the show, their voices were much quieter, and the people that were applauding John Cleese and Michael Palin were much louder. I mean, they won the argument.
You see it all the time nowadays, don't you, where people jump on the bandwagon of something they haven't seen, and you say, "Have you seen it?" And they go, "Oh no, I don't have to though, because I know what it's about."
Yeah,
fucking watch it and then tell us your opinion. The worst kind of audience member for me, right? Live comedy is somebody who gets offended on behalf of somebody else. Yeah. Get it all the time. Oh, if my friend had been here, they'd have thought that Donald Trump were offensive. Well, bring them and let them decide for themselves. You're not the fucking babysitter.
Yeah.
But that's, controversy
second guess
aside.
somebody else's offence.
You know, 9 times out of 10, they probably laugh their heads off. You know.
Yeah. For me, controversy aside, that is not why I love this movie. It's fucking funny as hell.
It's really funny. It's smart.
Funny.
It's
smart. Clever. It's got many things to say about society, about religion, about history, about, and it's much more than the best joke for me in Monty Python in Holy Grail is when the king's riding through the town and he stops to speak to the peasants and he goes, "Old woman." She goes, "Man." And they have a conversation about how she's being oppressed, and it's just that's the best.
Or the stoning scene where all the women have to wear beards.
Not Broth's just put up a relevant message here. Look, outrage about seeing it happen.
Yes, The paedophile special is one of the best things I've seen on TV. Full stop. It's stunning piece of work.
It's clever. It's perfectly timed. It's
stunning. It's stunning.
Anyway, so yeah.
No, actually, although in their drugs episode, actually talking about Brass Eye, when they talk about cake is a man-made drug, I mean, it is literally, sorry, cake is a made-up drug, and then you get a member of, but no, you had an MP standing up in the House of Parliament, raising in Prime Minister's questions about cake is a new made-up drug that, you know, and it's terrorizing our streets. I mean, that's a perfect example there as well. Somebody just from hearsay, it's beautiful. It's beautiful playing with that outrage. So then we go from Python to the meaning of life.
Yep.
Now, this, I'm not a big fan of the meaning of life.
I like it, me.
I really
yeah,
like
I know
it.
Webby does as well. It's
very
I'm
strange.
not a huge fan.
But every Monty Python moment, every Monty Python movie is strange. Every even in Life of Brian, there's that whole odd sequence that Terry Gilliam directs with the fucking aliens swooping in to get him. Just a bit out of place. It's a bit strange. There's also the bit at the end where they're on the crucifix and the Japanese Harry Carey suicide.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
But it's odd. It's a bit odd.
The Judean People's Front come down to save them. Yeah, and they're just they're just brilliant. Yeah, it's fantastic. That's so funny.
So they've all got odd moments in. There's a bit. There's basically in Meaning of Life, Terry Gilliam wasn't particularly attached to Monty Python at the time, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do something for it, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet." And ended up going away and making a 17-minute long mini movie all about the pirates of the banking world. And it's totally bizarre. It's totally weird. Doesn't fit at all. But then you get straight into sort of brand new sketches by Monty Python that are all connected in a loose way to what life is. And I think the thread of that is just brilliant. There's some really, really interesting bits in it. I don't know when the last time you tried to watch it.
It took them ages, didn't it? It took them ages to figure out the thread. Because they were all writing and they were going to sack it off.
Yeah, they didn't, but they managed to weave it together and it sort of works.
I think it's about 6 or 7 years ago was when I probably last tried to watch it.
There's a great scene.
It reminds me of the sketch show, obviously.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
There's some great scenes in it. There's a scene where they all get together in that farmhouse in the middle of nowhere for a dinner and Death shows up.
Do you know the
kills
famous,
everybody off?
Do you know the famous thing at Cannes with this film? They showed it at Cannes, and I think it was Terry Gilliam came out and he said to some critic, he says, "Oh, it's not very good that," and the critic went, "Yeah, but don't you get it? Even shit." He said something like, I'm misquoting, but he said even shit Python is still great Python, and he says, for the bits that are a bit crap, there's always a bit that tops it. Something like that. I'm totally getting.
There's some really beautiful, poignant moments in it as well. There's a bit with a tree that overlooks a graveyard, and and you hear this voiceover. It's a Terry Gilliam animation, and you see the branches of the tree with all the leaves on, and you hear this voice going, "Oh no, I'm going to do it! I'm going to jump! I'm going to go!" Ah! And one leaf falls off this tree and floats down, and then the family of leaves around start going, "Dad, where are you, Dad?" Ah, and then they all fall, and it ends with all the trees. That's in Meaning of Life. I'm sure it is.
Right.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. There's some really weird bits in it as well. Do you remember the bit with Eric Idle as the French waiter?
Yeah.
And he takes you on that journey all the way through London. He's going, "Follow me, come on, come. Yeah. I'll show you. Come, I'll show you where I'm from. You want to know where I'm from?" And he makes him follow him all the way. And then right at the end, when he gets there, the camera looks at what he's trying to show, but it turns away, and he's like, "Oh, you don't want to see? Fuck you then. Fuck." And it's just a really strange moment in this thing, but there's some really cool bits.
They all went on
Christmas in Heaven and all that.
And some good songs in it. The Universe song.
And after Python, they all went off and had their own very successful respective careers. Obviously, Palin doing a lot of 80 Days Around the World and Pole to Pole and things like that. I mean, I love those series.
Varying careers. Some of them did really well and some of them didn't. So, for example, Palin latched onto the BBC documentarian thing and it really did really well. But John Cleese, I mean, Fish Called Wonder, he did the
Fish Called Wonder, 40 Towers.
Yeah, no, 40 Towers was before. Well, that was late 70s, and he only did 2 series of that. So that was before Meaning of Life. Late
Being Alive
70s.
was about 83, wasn't it? It was quite late on.
Yeah,
really.
it was. It was really late.
But that's what I mean. But I mean,
gap in between movies, didn't they?
that's what I mean. So the original Python setup had then afforded them to go off and have their own individual careers.
Eric Idle tried really hard. He made some really dodgy movies. Remember that movie Splitting Hairs with Rick Moranis and Eric Idle?
Yeah.
Things like that. So he floundered.
Okay, you say that, but then Nuns on the Run, Spam-A-Lot, all these other things.
Spam-A-Lot is 30 years after he left, man. It's 30 years. I know but what I'm saying is he had a period of not doing very, very well for years and years before things like Spam-A-Lot.
But other than Terry Gilliam, is there anyone who's doing anything at the moment? Really?
Well,
Palin isn't really doing anything. Cleese isn't really doing anything.
Retired though, man.
Well, I think the thing about 40 Towers, so it was based on a real hotel that both Eric Idle and John Cleese had both stayed in Devon. Mm-hmm. And Eric Idle tells this story. It was like, honestly, it was bonkers. So we'd stayed at this hotel and some of them had gone and I was staying an extra couple of nights. And John and I were both staying an extra couple of nights. And I'd left my briefcase in the reception area and I'd gone to my room and they came back and I was like, where the fuck is my briefcase gone? So around about at reception, and then this fucking hotel owner was like, hello, yes. Said, my briefcase? He went, yes, it's at the back of the car park. Put it there. What? Why have you put it at the back of the car park? Because I thought it was a bomb. It's just another thing. And basically, John Cleese said that he had famously sort of avoided mentioning the real name of this guy. But then in an interview, he'd accidentally slipped up and mentioned the name of this guy, Donald Sinclair. So basically, they'd gone to do a recce of the hotel. And when they got to do a recce of the hotel, found out that this guy had sold the place. And he said, and rather disappointingly, there was a very charming and competent proprietor. This guy was called Donald Sinclair, the original proprietor that the character Basil Fawlty is based on. And he'd accidentally slipped up in an interview where he'd mentioned this guy's name. And the Daily Mail had then gone to America where this guy had retired, found this guy who would refuse to do any interviews, would refuse, I don't want anything to do with this at all. But what they'd then done was found the guy's daughter, this guy, Donald Sinclair's daughter, and they showed her several episodes of 40 Towers. And they're like, what do you think? And she went, I mean, yeah, that's my dad. And then, he just got this character absolutely spot on. It's absolutely brilliant. Well, brilliant. I mean, 40 Towers is the first thing I saw of Python. I
just want to touch again on what they did after Python, right? So what I'm trying to say is, to varying degrees, I would honestly say, I think, on the whole, Michael Palin is the most successful post-Python, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's still in stuff now, right now. He literally was in Stage last year. He was in Wurzel Gummidge. He was in Death of Stalin. He was in absolutely anything. These are all within the past 5 years.
Wait a minute, though. I'd actually say that Terry Gilliam.
I was going to say Terry Gilliam is by far the most perfect. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he is. One of my friends is his movement director in opera, and he's prolific. He's touring around the world as an opera director, being paid a shit ton of money.
But yeah, definitely.
Michael
Palin's definitely not doing nothing, man. And he did a travel series a couple of years ago, which he's not doing many of, but I think he did a Brazil one. It's just his age; he can't really get out.
I didn't say that Palin wasn't doing anything.
No. We were talking about what they have done and what they haven't done. Eric Idle, against what Monty Python wanted, wrote Spam-A-Lot, got it commissioned, and then basically went round him and said, "Can we make this happen?" I mean, and they all eventually agreed. They all eventually agreed to it.
Have you seen? I've seen it.
I've seen it. I saw it with what's his name? The guy who used to play Jim Robinson in Neighbours. Alan. He's been in loads of American films as well. Alan Dale. Yeah, he was in Lost as well.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That's right. Yes, yeah. So Alan Dale was playing King Arthur when I went to see it. Tell you what, some very, very risque humour in that show as well.
We'll try the same thing with Life of Brian, did Not the Messiah, and that didn't work out too great for him.
No.
And then recently I saw there was something on Netflix that he'd done like a radio play, and that had Eddie Izzard in it and loads of people.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'll find out what it was called while we're talking. But yeah, obviously Graham Chapman didn't do too well. He died in 1989, so he didn't do much.
Have you seen the last thing you were in? That they did a show where they were all hosted by Steve Martin. It was like a documentary thing about Python, and Graham Chapman's in it at the end, and Steve Martin opens a cupboard and they're all stood in there because he says, "And where are Monty Python now, you may ask?" And then he goes, "They're in this cupboard." He opens it and they're all stood in there. last thing they filmed.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but yeah.
So what's your favourite Python product?
Well, I was just about to say as well, we haven't covered all the albums they did and the CDs. There you go.
Yes.
Now, I used to own the Monty Python albums and stuff. And
so I am far less familiar with.
So I mean, these
albums.
songs I learned them word for word. You know, all the Monty Python songs.
So it's like the Lumberjack song and things like that. Yeah.
All of them. Galaxy song. You know, all that business.
Did they do Brave Sort? Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh, I found it, guys. The thing that Eric Idle did was a radio play done on stage in front of an audience, using all the tricks of old-fashioned radios, you know, sound effects and stuff. And it's called "What About Dick?" Now the cast.
Oh no, I do know about that. Yeah.
This is a fucking crazy cast. This is a good cast. Russell Brand, Billy Connolly, Tim Curry, Eric Idle, Eddie Izzard, Tracy Ullman, Jane Leaves from Frasier, and Sophie Winkleman. Isn't that her from Peep Show? Is that Big Sue's from Peep Show? I'm not sure. But yeah, they got a pretty decent cast. I watched it. It was all right. It wasn't. It was very Eric Idle.
Where did you find that? I'm just looking. There's actually some clips on YouTube by the looks of it.
It was on. I'm sure it was on Netflix, man.
He also had quite a good career interviewing Pythons in the US. So there's if you go on YouTube, there's loads
Billy
of
Connolly, man. Billy Connolly's in it.
I just said that. Yeah.
So yeah, there's loads of.
He's good in it because he can't stop laughing, and it's live, and he's got Parkinson's, and he's really aware of it.
I'll watch some of that after we've finished on here.
I'll tell you what else. One of the reasons I love Eric Idle, even though I shouldn't, because he's not the nicest Python by all accounts, is because of the Ruttles. The Ruttles is basically Final Tap.
I completely forgot about the Ruttles.
Beatles story, and it's fucking brilliant. The songs in that, if you close your eyes, the Beatles songs, they're just him and Neil Innes wrote it together, and Neil Innes absolutely nailed the Beatles sound. They've got some great parody songs in it, and I love that film. Yeah,
it's so. I mean, most of them have got a reputation for being acerbic, haven't they? For being cantankerous. Apart from Michael Palin.
Yeah, but you like said, they're all
and Terry Gilliam as well.
Really highly educated, Cambridge and Oxford lot.
Don't suffer fools gladly.
Yeah, and they're from that era of
shit. They don't. If they don't want to do something, they don't do it. It's a very. I mean, this is a proper example, I think, of people not selling out at all. Because when you think about it, they'll have done stuff for money, obviously, but they've always stuck to the guns, haven't they? As far as Python's concerned, you know, they've never done anything. That's why there's so little content. And I was going to ask you both: do you think that's why it's so, you know, revered? Is that the right word? Revered?
Yeah, revered.
Yeah.
I think it's revered because it's fucking funny. When it's good, it's really good.
Do you agree, though, that people, once they do a load of stuff, it gets a bit diluted? Now, because there's only, I mean, you've got, 3 films, a TV series, the albums.
A special. Hollywood Bowl is fucking amazing live performance.
But even that's material from the show, though. It's not like it's new.
No, exactly. I mean? It's not new stuff.
So few stuff that you think it has got that place in. You know, it's iconic, in it, and
because it's a little bit rarer, and you have to look for certain.
Also, they broke America in such a fucking monumental way, and I also think that because of that, it's another. Jesus
Webb.
It's another sort of British achievement. Do you know what I mean? I think we see it as our boys going and doing really well over in America, because there's not many comedy troupes or sketch troupes that have made it in the the Goons. Even the Goons didn't make it in the way the Pythons did. And the Goons,
there's a massive part of me. I know this is going to probably come out wrong, but there's a massive part of me that really believes that Americans like what I don't like about it. They like the
maybe.
Like,
I mean, it's big of you to speak for all of them, but
they're the people that want to. They're the people that want to sit in the audience and repeat the jokes that they know already. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, if you've been at the OC when I was there, honestly, I get that that's what it was about, but fuck me.
They say
I've come to watch these guys do it, not you guys do it.
You see, when I went, I didn't experience that. The audience were really like, they were loving it, but they didn't start quoting the lines as much as you.
Mate, it was almost word for word. It was just like, fuck me.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm British and I'm watching it through British eyes that I see, because it's homegrown.
Well, maybe
and we get it from
through Betty Davies' eyes.
Yeah, maybe so. But because it's homegrown and I get the familiarity of living in England, of what the hierarchy's like, of the things they're taking the piss out of, the streets they show, the parks they show, they look like Britain. So it feels like
yeah.
And I'm not saying, God, we shouldn't share stuff with people from overseas, but I think they see something completely different in it to what I see, in a way. Getting turned into a white circle in protest.
Have I?
You turn into a spinny white circle, buddy.
I'll get this sorted out.
Animation money that's come through.
Yeah. This is
spent that well. I thought we were going to get some fancy titles, and you've wasted it on a circle.
Sorry about that, guys.
I'll tell you what, if anything, they get a lot of credit for what they should get credit for, which is blowing the doors open for other surrealist comedians to be just as funny and go for it. You know, they're massively important culturally, I think. They are the Beatles of comedy.
Yes, absolutely. What's the community got to say about the Pythons, Lummy?
They've all said not much. Everybody's people are listening, but they're not. And we got Martin said here that Messiah is just a naughty boy. It's very true.
It's a very naughty boy.
I remember being brought up with Monty Python 8-track in the car.
Yeah, the songs, man.
Spam. Yeah, the songs are so good. You know,
Gotta spam, yeah.
There's some really weird, like, B-side songs as well.
I was just about to say that. The B-side to this.
Are you going on about the back one? I'm so worried.
No, this one had a song called "I Bet You They Won't Play That on the Radio."
Oh yeah, I bet you.
Oh god, yeah.
The radio. Yeah. I bet you they won't play this song. Yeah, it's all bleach.
Not that it's controversial.
I really like the Terry Jones song that's all about being worried. I'm so worried about the baggage retrieval system they've got at Heathrow.
Yeah. Whether the song should have stopped.
It keeps coming back.
Whether I should have just stopped.
And it comes back with like a big orchestra. Yeah. It's great.
Got them all on CD somewhere, yeah.
Well, I think we're all going to be watching a bit of Python, aren't we?
I
seriously think you should watch. Which one was it again? Meaning of Life again. As an adult, objectively, and you'll see what Lummy and I are talking about. It's not perfect, but the bits that are good are really fucking hell. Every sperm is sacred, Lummy. The whole Catholic Protestant thing at the beginning. It's genius. Yeah, I could go out right now and buy a rubber Johnny and pop it on the end of my John Thomas if I wanted to. But over the road, you've got the Catholics who've got like 80,000 children, and she's literally standing at the sink with babies popping out of her as the song's going on.
Get that for me, love. That's what it says, and it pops out, It's so
weird. God. Sorry, but we've got to give you all away from medical experiments.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad, really?
And he had to say sock, didn't he, in front of them all? Do you know about that? Instead of saying cock, he said sock.
Yeah. I should have worn it.
If I'd have worn one of them rubber things at the end of my sock.
Yeah, it's really good. It's brilliant.
Yeah, great. There's some great songs in that. Christmas. I like the Christmas Heaven.
Yeah, Christmas in Heaven. It's Christmas in Heaven. There's Christmas on TV. The Sound of Music twice an hour, and Jaws 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, it's cool, man.
So if you were to recommend to somebody who'd never seen anything from the Pythons, if you were to recommend anything from the Pythons, what would be your go-to?
I don't know if I'd ever go to, but if they'd never seen it, I'd probably say, well, have you seen any comedy? Because if you have, it's probably been inspired by Monty Python at some point. Things like Scrubs or The Office even, or bloody hell, there's quite a lot, isn't there? I'm forgetting to
As a starting point, I'd tell them to watch the Now for Something Completely Different film.
Would you? Yeah, it might not be a bad shout.
As a starting point, you know, because if you throw them into all 4 series or whatever it was, you'd be like, oh, yeah. You know, like you said, it's not an easy watch, some of it. Because for every good stuff, there is some stuff that's just like...
That's what I mean. It's inconsistent. The show's inconsistencies is what threw me off.
It was live though as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's really massively important. It's just it's really difficult to watch the show itself all the way through for me. You know,
the changed tact. If you remember with the 4th show, it went a bit. It was more of a longer, like through line. I think of the actual episode.
I mean,
more like a full episode of a sketch. I think rather than the broken up stuff.
I read Michael Palin's diaries. I mean, I keep saying that. I must confess, I got permission. I bought them.
Yeah,
I didn't sneak into his bedroom and just, you know. And there's bits in it where he talks about John Cleese leaving and he tells him on a plane. But there's also other bits where he's quoting John Cleese. He's saying, we're flying on this plane, we're flying over Canada, and Cleese cannot get his head around Terry Gilliam and why he's so fucking stupid. He said, Gilliam looked out the window and he looked down and we were flying over all these lakes in Canada and Gilliam goes, wow, look at that, a whole bunch of water. And John Cleese is like, that's not even English, man. He's like, Jesus Christ, what is this guy doing here? But yeah, and he's like, tee hee hee. You can't help but laugh at what's going on around him. But yeah, really upsetting when Cleese left. I mean, they're interesting. Good diaries are really funny.
Yeah, they are. They're brilliant, really good. I mean, you've got to go through all the stuff where he's just going to dentist and stuff in there, aren't you? It's literally everything he's doing, but they're really good. They're really fun reads. I love all the. I love the diaries when they're making Holy Grail as well. When he's talking about that.
There's some great stuff. Yeah, he's really good at telling it. And when they go to do Life of Brian as well, and staying in Barbados when they're all getting on and they're writing every day and it's sunny and it's beautiful. But I tell you what. A question for me I'd like to ask is, what's your favourite solo project then? Because for me, I absolutely love Fish Called Wanda. I think it's an absolutely cracking British film, really well written, great cast, still funny now, maybe a bit dated, but that's my favourite sort of solo project.
I'll tell you what I used to like, and it's a bit of an odd choice. I used to like that Clockwise film of John Cleese.
Oh, yeah. Clockwise is a brilliant film. Yeah, that's where you got that famous line. It's not... it's not the disappointment, it's the hope that kills you. Something like that. And it's just a great line. I don't know why I like that. That's not the kind of film I liked when I was a kid.
It's a good British farce, isn't it? You know,
it's a great film. It's a great film.
I tell you what, I fucked up. I much prefer Fawlty Towers to Fish Called Wanda. For me, Fawlty Towers is the perfect sitcom. There's not a bad episode. There's a laugh in everything. It's so dated with its racism and its and its views, but it's still brilliantly funny. It really rocks my world. And I've watched everything that Michael Palin's ever done that's a documentary. I love that guy.
See, that's where I was going to go. I think mine would probably be Michael Palin, the Pole to Pole and Around the World in 80 Days. Me and my mum would sit and watch that, or my dad liked to go off golfing and stuff, and it was just. Again, for me, it's coming from a nostalgia thing, and that they remind me of happier, simpler times, and it was lovely. Although trying to watch them now, fuck me, they're dated. It's like, it's like they're filmed on like a, I don't even know what they're filmed on, like a
Flintstones camera.
A Flintstones camera. That's exactly what they're filmed on. Yeah, filmed on an Etch-a-Sketch. Video 8. Video 8. That's what I was trying to say. Video 8. Yeah.
Martin Cameron, German episode.
They did an entire episode in German. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was on about the episode of Monty Python they did in German.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it was really successful in German. They did a whole episode in German.
I thought they did a series. I thought they did an entire series of it.
It might have been the entire series. My memory's not what it was.
6 episodes. But yeah, and they had to do it parrot fashion, didn't they? They had to get an interpreter to tell them the lines, and then it's.
Oh, really? Is that how they did it?
So,
okay,
yeah,
interesting.
I
Interesting.
think that's right. I might be wrong. I might be wrong.
Yeah, but yeah, the German. If he's on about the German episode of Faulty Towers, that is just classic.
Yeah.
It is really, really amazing.
But again, that's another example of something. 2 series in it were done.
Yeah.
You know, if they'd have gone on and done 9 series of it, would it have been as?
Well, they'd also split up between the first and second season, hadn't they? And his wife.
Yeah, they stopped writing together.
No, they carried on writing together. They'd split up, as in they were together, as in she was his wife, and they divorced. But they carried on writing the second season because he was like, and he speaks.
It was Polly, one who was.
Yeah, Connie Booth.
Yeah. He said that He said that we get on brilliantly. He's one of the few people he writes. She's one of the few people he writes really well about in his autobiography, and he was like, yeah, no, we just couldn't stand each other as husband and wife, but as writing partners, we got on like a house on fire. It was great.
I've still got John Cleese's biography right next to Michael Palin's diaries on my bookshelf, and I've not read it yet. I need to get around to reading it. Yeah.
But there's
a point where he did a tour a couple of years ago where he called it the alimony tour because he got in so much shit with his ex-wives to taking every penny he had. So he did a begrudging tour where he just went on stage and talked to the audience.
Okay, so he talks
alongside that.
So he talks all about this. If have a look, it's is it the Los Angeles Live, I think, and it's or LA Live. It's Eric Idle interviewing John Cleese. And it's all about that. It's all about that. And it's brilliant. It's really good. Yeah. It's really, really good. And he talks about his tour and he talks about his autobiography as well. And it's nice hearing them reminisce and just make each other giggle after all those years.
Right, just lovely. To reiterate before we go, for people that are watching, I'm going to recommend, if you've not seen it already, check out that documentary, the Almost the Truth, on Netflix, the 6-parter, but also check out the O2 one, the one behind the scenes with them all as old men trying to figure it out again and why they did it. That would be my recommendation for you guys if you want to Python yourselves up.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Well, gents, it's been brilliant talking to you about Monty Python this week. That was a really interesting topic, and it's been a big mammoth show as well. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Have we got any more comments for me before we head off for the week?
We've got you started it. No, you did by me. That's it for comments, though. We've not got really.
That's great. Well, we've been kind of tapping into them all the way through, haven't we? Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for all of your comments. Please, in fact, Nathan, have you got anything going on this week, or have you got any pearls of wisdom that you would like to share with our community?
Not really, no. I'm just working this week. We've got a bit of a quiet week after last week's madness. And, just not really much going on at all.
Cool. Well, I hope Robin gets better as well. It sounds like she's got a little bit of lurgy. And I hope you find out who's that cat is as well that keeps crushing the show.
I killed it when you weren't looking. Don't worry about it.
Shit, man. Holy shit.
Wow,
okay, so let's try and lighten this up a bit. Lummy, anything going on this week that you would like people to know about?
I'd actually like to plug, if I can, a friend of mine, friend of you guys, Webb, you know, and Jared, who works at, manager of OK Comics in Leeds.
Excellent.
There's a picture there, look.
OK Comics is a great shop.
Yeah, businesses are getting a bit. He put a post up earlier on Facebook, this one here, look. And it's basically saying that, you know, people aren't coming back to the shops as they once were. You know, everybody's kind of deserted the city centre. That's basically what it says. So I just thought we'd give it a quick plug for him. You know?
In fact, we will do a drive from our Facebook page as well. Anything we can do to help promote and support Jared at OK Comics, we are well up for that. And if it means we come and do a live show from the shop one day, I think that might be... that could be fun.
We're trying to attract him customers or put them off.
No, I'm thinking we could have Jared as a guest from the shop. And maybe if he was up for it, we can get him to show us around the shop and show us some of the cool things.
We should really embarrass ourselves and do a signing.
That's brilliant. I mean, it says on there, look, Thornton's Arcade. So if you are from Leeds, go check out OK Comics. That'd be great.
Or go to their webpage, because you can order stuff from them online at okcomics.co.uk.
You can, but the good thing about Jared, he knows his stuff, and he'll have a big chat with you about what recommend books for you. So
man,
go see him in
I
person
did that myself. Yeah. I went in there a few years ago and I braved it, and I talked
and
to
you came out with a load of Care Bear books.
No, no, dude, even better than that, right?
You came out as a brony.
I got given, I got put onto a comic series called Saga, which is
Saga's
the most fucking fantastic thing I've ever. It honestly really does know his stuff. I felt like a bit of a chump for asking, but I just went up to him. I said, "Look, it's been years since I'm so behind. I started collecting comics again because I started working a decent job and I had money, so I started collecting Batman and Spider-Man, but it wasn't doing it for me. I wanted to catch up on everything I'd missed, and I went in there, and he recommended some awesome stuff. Still some of my favorite books. So yeah, it's worth popping in and having a word.
So those of you watching now or in the future, if you're from Leeds, go down to the Thornton Arcade. Cheers, Pop Not Broth, and thank you for all your contributions to the show this week.
A few doors down too.
Nice. I'm always good.
Yeah, I've got one more thing.
I love coffee. Go for it, Lummy.
One more thing to plug. Tomorrow night, I've got my radio thing on what's on the box office radio. What's the score? 8 o'clock, and I'm doing. Webb's gone. Don't know where he's gone. I'm doing. I think he's turned his camera off by accident. I'm doing film music of Eddie Murphy from Eddie Murphy films, basically.
Cool. That sounds fun.
That'd be nice.
Just very quickly, those of you in the future who haven't seen the show but are now watching it not now because we're live, but in the future, as I'm saying this, you'll be watching it now. But then, if you're into your comics and you're from Leeds, go to the Thornton Arcade, go and visit OK Comics, go and speak to Jared. You've heard some really good testimonials from Nathan and from Lummy. Or if you're not from Leeds and you live further away from Leeds, like on the other side of the world or anywhere else, go on the old interweb and go to okcomics.co.uk and throw some of your custom his way. It's good to support local or far away if you're not from Leeds. But you know what I mean? Small traders, it's good. It's good to do it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very. Where did you go, by the way, Webby? What happened? You disappeared and then you just came back.
I lost connection for a second. I was like, what? It's not going to let me back in. But then I clicked a button and it let me back in.
Look at that.
Let me back in button.
Yeah,
that's not my best story, but yeah.
No, that's a good story. I'm looking forward to the movie. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your comments this week. Please go and give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe over on our YouTube channel. But the main thing is
an evil like.
An evil like, absolutely. And the main thing is to share the shit.
I've been waiting to do that.
I'm happy with that. I like it. I love it. It's kind of off the cuff stuff. But please, the most important thing to us is you just enjoy it and get involved. But what really helps is that you go and share the shit out of our content. Please do that because it means we get more geeks.
That's what you need to do.
Okay,
read Saga Volume 1. You won't be disappointed. You'll keep coming back for more.
You had your fucking moment, dude. You had your moment, but please share the shit out of our content because it makes the community bigger and it means that we all find out more interesting stuff. And that's what it's all about. We're trying to build a community here, ladies and gentlemen. But we will see you next Monday at 7:30. For now, I've been Rich, that's been Lummy, and he's been Webby. And we're going to see you soon. Goodbye. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Pop.
Get back to the wall.
Thanks, Big T. Thanks, Em. See you later.